Let's make sure this is on. That always helps. All right. Let's let everything wake up for a second. Let's see. YouTube still waking up. All right. Good restream chat. Good restream chat. Way to get with it. All right. Twitch, you're always here before everyone else. YouTube's got to take a minute apparently. There we go. Now YouTube's live. Okay. Beautiful. We love to see it. Look, y'all know me. I could do a webcam. Excuse me. You focus. I could do a starting soon. I could do a starting spoon. I could do a starting soon screen. But I always choose not to. I would always prefer we not. You know what I mean? Look, it's not that I didn't make one. I made one. Am I going to subject you to it? Oh, nay, nay. So welcome immediately and on time to another Dadvocate live stream. So happy to see you. We have made some phenomenal sweeping improvements here at the studio. As you can see, we have introduced a "What Are We Talking About" box. Took a lot of experienced engineer work and design. Apparently my chat is being slow AF. I'm reading your guys' chats. Apparently they just are not wanting to show up here. We had this issue yesterday where chats on YouTube were just like not coming in. So we'll give this a minute, but I do see you guys YouTube chat, and to prove it, good morning Troy, good morning Kibben, good morning Ashley, good morning August, good morning Just Wasting My Time Gaming, good morning Neuroped's dad, always good to see you again, good morning DeGenera, and good morning Mark, who was the first comment, but no one will ever know. Now they're starting to show up. Good chat, good chat. Today's theme of the live stream is instant regret or instant karma. I tried to pick a lot of stuff that's just like a little taste of justice to kind of round out the week. You know, we a lot of us, we really had to trudge through. To those of you who do pay attention to some Dadvocate behind the scenes, it's been quite a week of unhinged haters on my side. I don't know about you guys. Look, it's not that I'm unfamiliar with haters at all. And to be real, I actually don't get as many as a lot of people think. Like, I think a lot of people, all the time, people will message me and be like, God, you must have so many haters talking about the kind of stuff that you do, and like, you must just get so much hate. And to be honest, I get so much more love from you guys. I like very rarely have to like block people or ban people from the chat or even get like ill-placed emails. You know, no threats, no one really trying to like ruin my life. Some people will like hurl insults or whatever, like that's just gonna happen when you're a content creator. But this week I've had some majorly unhinged haters, like to the point where I don't have to say anything. I can just let them tell on themselves. So hater one earlier this week, sorry, I need a little sippy sip before we get into the haters. Hater one, a girl came at me this week because I did a Skyrim stream and I downloaded the immersive fat idiot sun mod that makes it to where if you pull a lever, it subjects you to a permanent follower mod of like this kind of like, I guess, dopey looking little boy. And I was called a misandrist for downloading this mod because it was such a horrible portrayal of men, and that I'm a fake advocate. Which I just like. Do I really need to justify my download of the immersive fat idiot son mod? The funniest thing too is if you actually watch the stream, there really was no fat idiot son slander. I actually spoke very highly of my son the entire stream. I think Rufus is quite goated. I think that he's a tank, quite frankly. And also, I don't think that the men who designed the mod hate men. I did my research, as one must do if you ever want to download a single solitary Skyrim mod. If you don't read before you download, everything breaks. If you know, you know. But this was not a mod designed by, like, radical feminists to, like, teach the world, like, men bad. That this mod has been banned by Nexus Mods. Dude, it has been flourishing. I literally Googled silliest mods that you can download, and that is consistently at the top of the list for being a silly, goofy time. So it's called the Misandrist, and this is where it gets weird, okay? Because then she said, is earning $300,000 a year really worth an eternity in hell? Now, first of all, you're going to have to do a lot better than threatening me with an eternity in hell. This is old hat for me. I was raised by conservative Christians. I was threatened with an eternity in hell if I played Animal Crossing later than 10 p.m. or if I got a C on an assignment. I was literally told by my mother, tears in her eyes, that she was so sad that I would not be there when the final salvation came because I said church wasn't doing anything for me. Okay? So you're gonna have to do better than that. But second of all, is the $300,000 a year gross income in the room with us right now? Because it's not in my room. I'm telling you guys, this is not a number that exists in my life. Would be nice. What I can only assume is that she tried to Google my income and found one of those, like, Social Blade websites that tries to, like, guesstimate the average salary of a YouTuber, and it'll usually, like, poop you out some weird number, like, this creator probably makes between $50,000 and $300 million a year. Like, it's never even, like, a fair estimate, but that is wild to me that you're even trying to find it. Then it goes on to be like, here she is living in this super nice house. First of all, why are you Googling where I live? That's unsettling. But also, me and my husband bought our humble bungalow for $150,000 and are definitely still paying it off. Like, I don't think it's revealing too much to tell you guys, like, what me and my husband got this for. And God, did we, like, get so lucky, because we were stuck in renter hell for so long, and then by, like, a stroke of fucking luck and us being kind of decent people, our landlord one day, while petting our chocolate lab and us talking about how much we all love chocolate labs, was like, yeah, me and my wife are thinking about just selling this thing once we're done renting it to you. We're so sick of this. And we were like, well, our credit's absolute shit right now, but would you offer us a land contract? And god damn it, this man somehow turned into Peepaw and did it for us. And after that, when we stopped paying like $1,400 a month in rent and started paying $800 a month toward a home that we can own, we were able to completely change our credit scores from like the 500s to the 700s. Completely changed our lives, okay? Like, and this was pre-YouTube, okay? Like, yeah, to everyone else in renter hell right now, might I suggest getting to know what your landlord's favorite dog is, okay? It might not go the same way for you, but it just might. Dude, me and TJ like wrangled some things. And by the way, it was only $1,400 a month in rent to start, but then I was like, you know, it's been a while since these floors were redone. How about instead of you redoing the floors, you just knock our rent down a couple $100 a month? And he did it. Look, just ask for things. Another thing my father-in-law taught me is to just literally everywhere you go, ask for the good guy discount. It's not a thing, but it is a thing. You'll probably get at least 10% off. Just be like, hey, you guys got a good guy discount? And like, that shit works. Oh, I'm in renter heaven. My rent is extremely low. That is honestly a get, to be fair. It's crazy. I remember when you used to be able to like move in with a homie and you were both paying $300 a month. Do any of you guys remember those days? I'm on the other side. My mortgage is paid off. Tasty. It's nice that we're all just kind of like marinating in things that we're grateful for, even if they're like not very huge. Like, I just thought the like super nice house comment was funny because I'm like talking about it with my husband. I'm like, look, I love our house. We've put work and love into this house, but I don't think anybody would look at our house and be like, oh my God, what do they do for work? You know what I mean? It would be cool. I would love it if someone was like jealous of our house. Like that really, and I'm sure tons of people are, but it's a very average house, I would say. Very, very mid. Okay. But we're here for instant regrets and instant karmas. So today, let's get into it. All right. Situation number 1. Not much of a story, not much to it, but every once in a while, that old phrase, a picture tells 1,000 words, or a picture says 1,000 words, applies so neatly and so cleanly, you almost don't need to say much else. So without further ado, allow us to reflect on this moment. When your baby mother bring her family to beat you up, but they get pulled over out front and the police find drugs in her car. Look at God working. I mean, you have to be on drugs to think that rolling up on your child's father or parent at all to beat them up is even remotely a good idea. Okay? There's so much cowardice that goes into that. Like, literally, unless you found out, like, one of the darkest, most unspeakable things about this person. Okay? But you're just mad. You're just petty. He probably got a new girlfriend, and you decided to tell all of your cousins that he hit you. So you convinced all these people, and it looks like there's another woman here too, by the looks of it, unless bro's just rocking the nice tight baby blue leggings up there. But you really got 5 whole people that I can count. There could be more. They really clown carded up, filled every seat to try and start something. You were going to have 5-on-1, and instead, you're all doing the dirty worm on the floor while brother is cheesing to the stars. It's giving Renaissance painting in the best way. Someone has been working overtime, God or a good friend. This is one of those moments. And like, if this does not help him further achieve custody and parenting time, I don't know what else will. Okay? Very, very rarely does something work out so beautifully, but they didn't even make it past the fence. He gets to look nice and clean. You love to see it. You love to see it. That dude's guardian angel needs a vacation. If I had to guess which one the baby mama is, for some reason, I'm assuming immediately it's the one in the black hoodie. Both because he made sure that she was the one focused, and because she's the one who has the audacity to be like looking up and around, even though the instructions whenever you're in a situation like this, and I don't know from personal experience, trust me, I would tell you guys if I had a brutal getting arrested story, but you are supposed to remain face down. And a lot of that is because at this point there is no positive intent. They don't even want you able to spit at them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna guess, I'm seeing a lot of BMA here, which is baby mama audacity on that one. I'm guessing one in the middle. Okay, but I could be wrong. It could be, maybe she's in one of these super baggy hoodies. Hard to say. Hard to say. But yeah, just wanted to share a quick one with you to get started. I love my new system. No, I'm going to save the wholesome dad break for later. We're going to do a little bit more instant karma, instant regret. And then after we've had enough of that, then I do have a wholesome dad moment for you. Okay? So come on in, get cozy. It's going to get good. The next thing we're going to look at is we're actually going to do some court cam on the Dadvocate channel. Now, the reason that I don't do a lot of court cam is because I'm unsure of the legalities. And actually, I'm going to ask maybe a dumb question to you guys, but please help educate me. How do people get Zoom court hearings on YouTube legally? Is it legal? I'm curious because we've had a couple of Zoom court hearings, and in our jurisdiction, there is like very plain bold red text watermark over everything that says do not record. It is illegal to record, right? But I keep seeing these YouTube channels that are reacting to different Zoom court hearings, and I'm wondering, are they just risking it for the biscuit? Or are these sketches disguised as legitimate Zoom court hearings? Because that's also been a thing since the dawn of time, is fake court hearings for entertainment value. Just like how we have a ton of fake true crime on YouTube right now. It's an epidemic for us true crime girlies. For some reason, the case has to be real. Like, people actually have to experience the trauma for us to really be able to sink our teeth into. So it's quite an epidemic. Andrew says, I had to do Zoom court hearings. It's very clearly illegal, and if reported, they could face charges. It's so interesting. I'm really wondering how it all works. You know, I feel like I've got to assume that these are fake, but maybe I'm just an extremely gullible person. Very well could be the case. But a lot of these seem to have like such specific details and to go on so long without any edits that I would be really impressed if it was acted out. But it could be. If these people are really skilled in the found footage department of acting. The courts also have to record it, and technically they're all public record. But are we allowed to record it and then re-upload it to YouTube? Because here's the interesting thing is, I can understand someone risking demonetization, but if it's actually illegal, are they just counting on no one prosecuting it? Bilson said, depends on the state. In Florida, they are public unless the judge says otherwise. In some states, the public can request it. So basically, you just kind of have to find the right court channels. In Oklahoma, there's a law that as long as you're one of the parties involved, you can record phone recordings and rideshare conversations and such, but I'm not sure about court hearings. It's so interesting. Yeah, because I've thought about, because there have been some days where I just listen into my local family court just while I'm getting ready and stuff. And I've been like, man, I really wish that I could, just do a live stream watching this stuff, but it's very clearly posted as illegal, and I'm not trying to risk that for the biscuit at, okay? But what I could do as well is watch the court cam and then just kind of do what reporters who went to courtrooms used to do and just kind of report on what they heard or what was talked about in the case. That's perfectly legal. Oh, yeah. Let me turn the volume up. Sorry. Oh, yeah, it is kind of low. I don't know how that happened. I must have knocked it. Okay, is this better? Louder? Quieter? You guys are the boss. You guys are my boss. Okay? I'm in Canada. Things are different here. So, yeah, if you guys know, especially y'all Floridians, because you know what? The Florida family court is what we really want to hear from. Definitely send them my way, and I would love to keep a lookout and cover more stuff like this. But for today, I'm going to be covering other YouTube channels that have already uploaded it. I figure if YouTube has allowed them to post it and keep it up, it might be illegal. And if it's not, look, I am simply reacting to something that YouTube allowed to be up, so this ain't on me, okay? Let's get this all cozy and situated here. I want you guys to have a nice, good view of everything. I'm actually going to go ahead and make myself smaller here so that we can react to the big picture. Okay, so this is coming from the Court Archives channel. Feel free to go subscribe if this is your kind of thing, but going to give them the proper accreditation because they're the ones risking potential jail time by posting this. We're going to start 2 minutes in instead of at the very beginning. Let me know if audio gets echoey, and I'll go ahead and put on the headphones. You've seen this one already, Tree Spirit. Okay, so you're like me. You love the courtroom trials. So in the first 2 minutes of this, we have the petitioner of this, the father in this case, requesting access back to the marital home. You'll see other reasons. The reason I'm skipping the first 2 minutes is because basically what the first 2 minutes entails is that they had one parenting agreement, which isn't made clear when they first got divorced, but lately they've transitioned to week on, week off, and so basically both parties agree to just switch over to that format. So great, no arguments there. But the rest of the case is about our petitioner of the motion, who is the father right here. His name is not shown because he's being represented by his lawyer, Georgia. And then the mother in this case, who is currently residing in the marital home, is a Miss Lowe here. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's make sure it's loud enough.
Okay. So, and I'm just going to make sure, and again, I know I'm kind of pinch hitting here, so I want to make sure right now we're still on motions for temporary orders, correct?
Yes, this is the first hearing on this case, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
So we are also asking that my client wants to return to the family home, and I can get into that argument in a minute. We addressed in the motion our request regarding temporary use and possession of the vehicles and property in their current possession, payment of bills, I think that was it. And child support. She in her responsive pleadings requested spousal support, although she did not make a specific request as to an amount. Your Honor, as to the marital home, my client did not agree to moving out despite Mom's assertions that he did. The text messages do not reflect that he was in agreement with this option, and in fact, he never agreed to any of it.
So this is huge. I think that this is something that more people should be aware of, but you have rights, okay? This is why people say if you're ever getting into it with your spouse, fighting, arguing, talking about splitting up, anything, they tell you do not leave the home. Do not leave the home, because physically leaving the home is oftentimes seen as a surrender. It is also very illegal to kick someone out of the home. No matter how angry you are at your spouse, you cannot simply say, get out, leave. Even if they're not on the lease. If they have been reasonably living there consistently for long enough, this is where we kind of get terms like squatters' rights. But they do have a reasonable right to live there and would need to be formally evicted. Otherwise, it's completely illegal to kick them out. She cannot just do things like change the locks or anything like that. He has a right. So if she did do anything like forcing him out, changing the locks, they have a right to come on back and say, actually, he never surrendered his rights to the marital home. So this is where it might get saucy.
She demanded he moved out. She barked orders. She told him exactly how it was going to be, and that's what he was stuck with, or at least he felt that he was stuck with. He has a separate property interest in the home from an inheritance that was constituted the down payment. And Your Honor, the fact is, it's my client who can afford the home. She can't afford to stay in the home on her own. She's not working, and that is by choice. And she has since moved her boyfriend in.
So you're not hearing this incorrectly. She kicks him out of the home, demands that he can't be there, but can't even afford to live there without his money. So let's see how this plays out for her.
This person that she claimed in her responsive declaration was only a friend, and whom now she is 5 months pregnant by. So her representation to the court that this individual was just a support friend and just a good friend, no, it wasn't.
Wow, you guys know how you just like hang out with your friends and then they like just completely get you entirely pregnant. You know how like that silly stuff just kind of happens sometimes. You just like get fully loaded up genetically by your homies. It's just, you ever just like kind of feel down and so you need some emotional support? So you just literally take truckloads of cum to your ovaries.
Which validates my client's accounting of the facts in this case. The situation Mom is currently in is of her own doing because of her choices. That does not relieve her of the responsibility now to support herself and to equally support her children. She expects my client to support her boyfriend, and their new child. And so
I love that the lawyer can't even like continue this simple statement without laughing. That's how you know it's bad.
Where is her boyfriend's obligation? That's what we have to ask. Why should my client be paying for a house for him to live in rent free? He's not paying rent. And my client is not only the out spouse, but the expectations that she places on him in the text messages are untenable and unfair.
I'm sorry, I'm on his side, But this does look like he's just been called into the principal's office and his mom is like yelling at the principal and is like, my son did nothing wrong. Like in this case she's right, but like that's it. This is exactly what it looks like.
She demands money. She demands gas in her car. She demands groceries. She demands diapers. He doesn't mind those things, but he is also paying for her housing. He's paying the utilities. And
Wow.
in fact, he believes that her boyfriend is working out of the marital home using the internet he's paying for. So
watching so much OnlyFans on there on his dime.
Utilities to make sure that they're paid, and so his credit doesn't get affected, and to make sure his children are safe. But he is seriously being taken advantage of here.
Oh, it feels so good. I feel like a lot of men would pay a lawyer just to be able to have someone else say that in a courtroom. Like, there's so many men who feel that exact same way. Like, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, but no one else but them is saying it. That had to have just felt good just to hear someone else say, you know?
That being said, there's absolutely no reason she cannot be working. And as the court is aware, we just agreed to a 50-50 residential schedule. So that means that there's no reason she can't be working on her off weeks from the children.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out for the court that she did not file a proposed parenting plan. She did not file a financial declaration.
That's such crazy work, too. I could not imagine being in a situation where I have the kids half the time and I'm literally paying for my ex-wife's entire life to have half the month off to just be chilling, living the single life, having God knows how many people over, and I'm just funding that while literally having the kids half the time. There's not a woman on this earth who would not be raising every damn alarm bell if this was happening to her, and yet this is just expected of men. Like, here he is saying, like, well, I do want to provide for my kids, but this is kind of unfair, like, to say the least, because no woman alive would tolerate living this way, okay? But again, let's see how this works out for the mom who thinks that she's gonna just get all of these liberties and entitlements.
We have no idea what her expenses are, what her income is, if she has any. She needs to get a job. If her boyfriend isn't working, he needs to be. If he isn't working, then he needs to. If he is working, then he needs to pay rent, thereby reducing my client's obligation.
Yeah.
He can choose to pay rent to my client, or he can find his own place. My client is paying for everything right now and has been since this whole thing occurred, where she just picked up and left with no notice for a month and 3 weeks, and then just expects him to be out of the house.
See, that's crazy. So what we just learned is the events that led up to their divorce are that she literally is the one who abandoned the home first. No notice, no communication, no obvious or reasonable sign that she would reasonably return. There was no... How do you even know if she's alive or dead? She just ghosts him and the kids, maybe. I don't know. It's unclear if she just left him or took the kids. Either is horrible. You don't have the right to do either. You don't have the right to abandon your kids for a month and a half because you need to clear your mind and find yourself. And you don't have the right to take the kids unilaterally away from their father for a month and a half because you need to clear your mind and find yourself, or whatever it is your excuse is. You simply do not have the right to cause that kind of harm to your child like that. Let's take the man's feelings out of it, though they matter. Let's simply focus on the child's best interest. That's a shit thing to do, and this is a very strong case for why he should be returned to the marital home.
Expects it to be in perfect shape, perfect condition upon her return. My client wanted me to address the flea situation and the messiness of the house. The house is not as messy as she tries to represent. And here this guy is trying to take care of these kids
God, isn't that just so gross? To have the audacity to leave the home for a month and a half and then come back and complain about the state of it at all. At all. You have no right to say, why aren't the chores done? Why haven't you been here for a month and a half to help with any of them? Are you kidding me? I hate when couples do this. I really, really hate that, because I've heard the same thing from the opposite side too. I have once heard a man argue in family court, well, she shouldn't have the rights to the child because after the baby was home, she let the house go to shit. And the judge was like, you mean the house that you also lived in? It's a poor argument, lady.
And take care of kittens that she initially brought in. She decided to foster a bunch of flea-ridden kittens, and she brought them in the house. The flea issue started because of her. And then she tried to blame it on him, and now she's trying to use this declaration and this court process to say that it's him. It's his fault. It's his neglect, which is not the case. She also made some serious allegations about sexual assault, and then talked to my client subsequently.
So, trigger warning here. What's really important about these next few minutes of the case is this is where family court becomes such a wild, wild west situation, because oftentimes people are able to just throw stuff like this out there without any evidence. They're things they just say, and you have to really just rely on either the judge or your lawyers to put a stop to it, or just that. Yeah, you have to really rely on the judge and the lawyers to put a stop to it. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes that stuff just gets weaseled in there without any need to corroborate with evidence or anything like that. And whether or not anyone believes it, it's always going to be damaging to have those kinds of claims made about you on public record. Okay? The other really important thing that we're going to cover here, for anyone who is a victim of any possible situation of things that will be claimed here, I cannot stress enough, as much as I understand how difficult it is and why you may not want to, I cannot stress enough how important it can end up being that you do report it. Because we will see the fact that none of these claims were ever reported, which doesn't help, okay? A lot of nuance here, okay? As I feel terrible for all victims of these things. I don't fully know what happened here, but there's a term called the silver bullet in family court, and it's basically the idea that if you make a claim of ABUSE against the other parent, that's pretty much your locked-in guarantee to get the upper hand. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Most states have passed laws that if an accusation like that is made, he's like immediately on supervised visitation if he gets anything at all. And a lot of people agree with that. Most of my audience agrees with that method. It does become very scary though, because what that tells a lot of women who may ordinarily not make up things, but when you become a mother bear and you convince yourself that you are willing to do anything to protect your child, a lot of these women will lie. So we'll see what happens.
Wherein she informed him that, well, the last time they were together, she just didn't want to. Never once did she say no. Never once did she ask him to stop. She never yelled, she never screamed, she never cried, she never called the police, she never sought a restraining order. Even now, in response to her emotion, she's not even seeking any kind of protection order or restraining order against my client.
It's always so fascinating to me, too, when a person will allow the father to take the children week on, week off, but will then come out and say, oh, but they're dangerous to be around. That's not So, like, something is off there.
She has no fear. You can't consent to something and then turn around and claim it to be an assault just because it wasn't something you wanted at the time. If you didn't want it at the time, you need to speak up. You need to fight back. She didn't. So she can't come down to the court and say that my client is an abuser and that he sexually assaulted her. To mention the fact that it was not in the middle of a fight. It did not occur out of rage or extreme emotions. It just occurred. They're a married couple. As to requests for her spousal support, she makes no specific requests. She provides no financial documents. We have no idea what the status is of her boyfriend. And she is simply claiming that because they were married and during the marriage she got to be the stay-at-home mom, she should continue to live that life of luxury just after it was her decision to end the marriage, and not have to support herself or equally support the children.
Yep, that's a common theme too. Now, before I address this, that she's saying, well, I've always gotten to live as a stay-at-home mom, I should get to keep living a stay-at-home mom. I want to address Morgan's question. Is begrudging consent when you do it but you don't really want to do it anyway still SA? Actually, yes. Most states are starting to recognize coercive control, things like that, basically, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of just put, like, I'm not, like, finding the right words for it. But yeah, just being a sex pest and constantly badgering someone until they feel like they almost can't say no anymore, starting to be recognized as a form of SA. And so this is why, I just said in my last stream, like, guys, you need enthusiastic consent or fucking nothing. Because if they say no and you ask again, you are being a nuisance at best and a criminal at worst. So knock it off, not worth it. Go take a bathroom break and knock one out yourself, boys. Like, that's crazy work to feel the need to pester someone into sleeping with you. So I absolutely agree that it should be under the umbrella of SA. In this case, it's incredibly, it needs its own criminal trial if that's the case. I don't agree that these accusations should be allowed to be considered in family court without making their way through criminal court. It is very ridiculous to me that it should be allowed in as admissible in any way, even as something to just bring up. It should be something that's struck from the record until it goes to criminal trial. Okay? That's just my personal belief in order to keep the justice system fair and balanced. Exactly, just wasting my time gaming. No means no, go take a cold shower. That being said, this whole argument going back to, well, I was always the stay-at-home mom, so I should get to keep being the stay-at-home mom. I actually think that is valid when it is the man who insists that she do it, when it's the man who's like, I don't want you to get a job, I want you to stay at home, but then he's the one that abandons the marriage for, like, some younger woman. In that case, I actually fully agree with child support and alimony. You were the one that set up a situation where she had to give up her career, made herself the primary child care worker, and then you abandoned your commitment, so you have to make up for it somehow. In this case, she is the one who backed out of her marital obligations. She is the one that was like, what if I just had all of the benefits of what you can provide in a marriage without me reciprocating literally anything that I was supposed to in the marriage? How about we have that arrangement instead? How about not, lady? That's when it's just fucking audacious.
So we are asking that our motion be granted, Your Honor.
Great. Ms. Lowe, I have also received your response. I did not receive a proposed parenting plan from you, but I have received your response to the petitioner's proposed parenting plan. What would you like the court to know?
Well, Your Honor, there's many discrepancies in the petitioner's responses. I would just like the court to know that we had a mutual agreement when I wanted to get divorced that he would move out of the house. There was abuse in the
See, that always makes me side-eye, though, because this is something that, in our situation, the other co-parent did a lot, was my husband would just get an email one day that would say, hey, this is the new schedule. And then she would go around telling people that this is what we agreed on. What? Do you mean just because we didn't, like, fist fight you that we agreed to it? That's a really weird interpretation because I'm pretty sure we blatantly told you we don't agree to this. But we followed it so as not to cause problems. And that's, like, the crazy thing, too, is I'm sure that, like, there were days that he's like, I'm just going to stay out of the house because it's not worth getting screamed at. That's definitely not the same as we had a mutual agreement. So whenever people say things like that, I'm always like, extreme bombastic side-eye, because I don't think that means what you think it means.
relationship. That's why I left the home, the marital home, during the time so that he could move out. And
Oh, so that's why she abruptly left for a month and a half. So his version is she just, like, up and left, and her version is that she was this kind, generous saint who was giving him an opportunity to surrender the majority of their assets that he has majoritively paid for to her. Well, now I get it. I'm completely on her side. She's an angel.
it was safe. So when I returned, I have text messages showing that he knew I was at the airport. I was on my way home. He was preparing one of the vehicles for me. And originally he had said I could live in the marital home for a year. And then after I got back, everything changed. I am also 2 months pregnant, not 5 months pregnant.
Okay, guys, let's get it straight. The man that I lied to the entire courtroom under oath about only being a friend, he only knocked me up 2 months ago, not 5. So you guys are stupid for thinking that. Isn't this what every narcissist does? I cast bombastic side-eye rolls D20. But what did you get, Dylan? How did it land? As much as I would love to keep her face covered, I'm gonna shrinky dink this down just a wee bit here. It's also like I love that she's like, and then everything abruptly changed. Like, how much could it have really changed though? If he told you that you can live there for a year, to me that pretty clearly and reasonably states that the plan was never for you to have permanent residence. For you to assume anything else, for you to start building your life now around that home to a point that you're even moving in a brand new family, shows that you clearly misunderstood the direction from the beginning. And the reason that things probably changed is because he knew you would fucking do that. Because he knew that if he gave you an inch, you would take 500 miles, okay?
In regards to the sexual assault, I did cry. I did say no. I don't feel like it's necessarily appropriate for court, especially with...
Okay, if it's not appropriate for court, then why did you bring it up? So it's appropriate to levy a life-altering, life-damaging accusation against a man when it suits your case. But when you're asked to clarify on it, that's when it's not appropriate for court. Ma'am, if you're going to say something like that, it is your job to stand 10 toes down on it. Okay? This is bullshit. Your Honor, my spouse's lawyer didn't meet out by the flagpole to hash out the agreement, so by law, they did agree to everything I want. Stop, Shala, because, like, that actually happens. Like, I've actually heard of people saying stuff like that, and that's, like, not too far off from the way our situation was. Like, oh, well, because they didn't literally schedule an entire UFC fight card over it, it means that they love it.
Me with no counsel. but I can't afford counsel this time.
Oh, I'm the victim. Look, I would stand by the major accusation that could cause you to have an irreparably damaged relationship with everyone around you and become permanently unhireable. But, like, I can't afford a lawyer to actually help me defend that in any way. So, like, you guys have to stop ganging up on me about this. Can't you just simply believe me? Like, you guys are such misogynists.
I've done everything in my ability so far, filing TANF and filing for child support.
What? Do you think that filing for state benefits and for child support is equivalent to reporting a crime? Because no joke, that's what she literally just said. She's accused by the lawyer of, hey, if these events really happened to the degree that you're claiming, don't you think that you should have pursued several protections for yourself and for other potential victims? And her response was, well, I did everything I could. I tried to get his money. We have to explain to you how that's not the same thing? And you want the custody. Okay.
I have thrown out many suggestions to the petitioner, such as splitting the mortgage on the marital home, or him not paying the mortgage at all, and me just continuing to raise the children in the marital home. I've been a stay-at-home mom since the birth of both of our children, so for those reasons, that's why I asked to stay, and that was our agreement, and he was moved out when I came back. So, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And you,
the bullying worked, so, I mean, the mutual agreement worked, so I don't even understand why I'm here today.
There's another adult living in the house with you at this time?
There is. I don't receive any support through the state for my other child that lives in the home who's 10 from a previous relationship, and I don't receive.
Oh, wow. So she came to this man with a child, has his baby, and then three kids, three baby daddies? Kind of a red flag. Cimarine, haven't seen you in a minute. So I'm guessing he found out she was cheating and out of the goodness of his heart told her she had a year to get her life together before she had to leave, right? I don't know if she cheated. It's a very suspiciously close timeline between him moving out, the divorce being declared, and her being knocked up with another man's child. Very suspiciously close window. She's also trying to, use the fact that she's not getting state assistance for a child that has nothing to do with this case as some kind of flex. Not even related. Steve B, good to see you again. By the way, I'm still reading your email. I, fell asleep super early out of exhaustion at, 6:30 p.m. last night. It was crazy. I was like a cheetah having run a marathon. I, passed out. But Steve is encountering some major victories in his life at the moment. And Steve says, hey, it's been a hot minute. Life has been nuts. Yeah, it has. Popped over to say I managed to send you another email. I just addressed part 1 and 2 of the tale of my court battle. Part 1 is the backstory. Part 2 will be my court battle details. Yeah, Steve's story basically, I swear I can TLDR this. I know my audience. So Steve's story is that unfortunately the mother of his child passed away, but then her mom usurped custody and has been refusing to let Steve, the father his own child, trying to be like, no, grandma deserves more of an ability to raise a child than I can. And Steve's like, lady, but he got his kid. He got his kid, is the TLDR. So Steve, big congrats. Lately we've had a series of wins where at least one person in the chat is letting us know, I won in court, and it's an amazing feeling. I love this. I love that we're getting these daily wins. Anyway, back to it. We left off with Mama Lo here saying, Well, at least I don't get state assistance for this kid that has nothing to do with this. We'll see how that plays out for her.
See any kind of support.
Sorry, hold on. Sir Shadow Mole says Twitch chat is going to start suffering from ignored child syndrome. Aw, poor Twitch. You guys are just not being as funny. I mean, no, it's, you guys are beat out by the YouTube chat every time. I think it's, yeah, you guys literally are about 10% of the population is my YouTube chat right now. I'm so sorry, but I love you guys just as much. If I didn't, I would stop streaming to Twitch, but I will not give up on you guys. I think I make like $6 off of Twitch every month, and I still won't give up on you guys.
Support for my significant other, who I am pregnant with right now.
Oh, wow. And she just said, I'm also not receiving support from the significant other that I'm pregnant with right now. Ma'am, you're not doing any favors for yourself, okay? You basically just told us, I ain't shit at picking partners except for the man who's in court with us today. The first baby daddy, don't give me shit. The third baby daddy, don't give me shit. I base my entire existence off of relying on this man, and I'm still going to levy the worst accusations a woman can possibly levy against him. Again, while being wholly dependent on him, and not because I can't, not because I have to be. She is not dependent on him because she has to be. Okay? This is not a financial abuse situation. He is trying everything that he possibly can to not have her rely on him, including but not limited to taking 50% custody of the kids. So she has an entire half a month to figure out her life on her own. Fire's gun at Twitch chat's feet. Dance, dance. I love that there is now a war between chats. This is just in time. I just finished the Wyatt Earp documentary of the Cowboy War on Netflix. Chef's kiss, amazing. But good God, the delusion of this woman, it's driving me insane. And here's another fun statistic for you. Did you know that women who share 50-50 custody with their co-parent are 300%, let me repeat that, 300% more likely to earn six figures? So I'm really failing to see her excuse here. I'm a full-time mother, okay? I do the majority of the childcare within our home based on the privilege of me getting to work from home. I'm a full-time working woman who owns a business doing the majority of the childcare, so I have really no sympathy for these women who are like, but I just can't live a life where I don't rely on my ex. I don't get it. Also, my husband moved 250 miles away from all of his friends, family, resources, his career where he was making very good money so that he could live right next to his son. So I equally have no understanding or sympathy for guys who are like, well, it's just too hard for me to see my kid, when they're given every opportunity. Like when they're actually being allowed to see their kid and they're still not showing up. This is where the sympathy, like, it disappears for me. Because I'm like, you don't even have your kid for half the month. What do you mean you can't work? And what do you mean your boyfriend can't work? What do you mean you want any sympathy for two grown-ass adults who won't work and just want to be able to stay home and make babies on your ex-husband's dime? Fucking ridiculous.
And is your significant other who's living in the marital house with you paying any of the expenses for the home?
No, Your Honor, but I have offered to start paying expenses in the home.
What
I've
a
never
joke.
asked the petitioner to pay the mortgage.
What do you mean you never asked the petitioner to pay the mortgage? You petitioned for alimony and child support while he has the children 50% of the time. That is called you asking someone to pay your bills for you. That's exactly what that's called. Because at the point that he has the children 50% of the time, it's unreasonable to say that you're obviously paying more for the child and that you deserve compensation. It's also unreasonable to say that you need the child support to make both homes equal, because you're the one who kept the home and he's the one having to struggle to pay for 2 homes while having the kids half the time. So you did, in fact, ask him to pay the mortgage, and you're simply scrambling now.
It was his conclusion that he was going to keep doing it. He said he didn't want the power to go out on the children. But my only request was to stay in the marital home and raise my children.
That was not your only request. You petitioned for alimony and child support.
Very flexible and everything else. But because this is
I love when these women try and do stuff like this. They literally, they pull all these bullshit moves, and then they always want to pat themselves on the back and make it out like, listen, I've been extremely charitable with him. I let him see his own children, okay? So I don't want to hear any of this stuff about how, like, I'm even a bad person when I allow him his basic rights to see the kids. And, you know, I'm so generous. I only told one egregious accusation, a life-ruining claim against him, okay? I could be so much worse, and you guys aren't even giving me credit for it.
for like a first hearing. We haven't gotten that far, and I can't afford counsel at this time. So I'm just kind of,
And then
what I'm able to.
the period of time that you left Washington was about a month and a half, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the children stayed in the home with Mr. Lowe?
Yes, Your
Okay, so in the month and a half that she left, she didn't take the kids. When in some ways, she also literally just abandoned her whole family for a month and a half. What was she doing for all that time? With what money? Where did she go? So she has no resources. She has no way of supporting herself, yet she's able to abandon her children for an entire month and a half, almost a quarter of a year. But she thinks that she can just move right back in and kick everyone out. I think that month and a half pretty sufficiently proved to the courts that he's capable of full sole custody while she is not. Am I wrong?
Honor.
So what I'm going to do, going through the petitioner's...
Hold on, I gotta read this one. Chris S. says, lowest of the low. Well played, my friend.
proposed temporary parenting plan, giving my ruling, and then Ms. Petrie, if you would be so kind as to make any changes per my order. I'll open it up for questions too. Jump in if anyone has questions.
Hold on, let's hear that part again.
For like a first hearing, we haven't gotten that far, and I can't afford counsel at this time. So I'm just kind of,
And then
what I'm able to.
the period of time that you left Washington was about the petitioner's proposed temporary stayed in the home with Mr. Lowe.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what I'm going to do, going through the petitioner's proposed temporary parenting plan, giving my ruling, and then Ms. Petrie, if you would be so kind as to make any changes per my order. I'll open it up for questions too. Jump in if anyone has questions as I go through this. So number one, in general, I'll adopt the petitioner's proposed plan with some changes. After review of the record, while I do think there is some evidence of probably more like 3B problems on mother's part, I am going to reserve for now on 3A and B limiting factors. We'll reserve those for the final order. Decision making at this time, for school, educational, healthcare will be joint. I will adopt dispute resolution and custodian section 6 and 7 as written. The parenting time schedule I will adopt with the oral agreement that the parties have made here on the record today.
So we've got joint legal and physical, and joint legal and physical established. See what happens with the home.
That will include numbers 9 and 10 for summer schedule and holiday schedule. I don't see it directly in here, but I am going to order that Mr. Lowe remain in the marital home at this time. Do not believe it's appropriate for this court to order that Mr. Lowe pay expenses of this home while a new significant other is in the home. I also don't believe, without further investigation, that it's appropriate that the children at this time be expected to reside with a significant other that the court knows nothing about. So Mr. Lowe is to return to the home. Ms. Lowe is to vacate. Mr. Lowe will be responsible for payment of the, and I believe you had that listed in your original motion, all of the expenses related to the home.
Let's go.
Yes, which includes the mortgage, utilities, insurance, property taxes, vehicle.
Oh no, I have to pay for the home that I actually get to live in now? Like, no problem, ma'am. That's fine. But our boy got his house back. All right. I love, too, that she was like, the children should not be expected to live with a man that the court knows nothing about. And thank God, because it's actually not very common for courts to give a shit about this stuff. And in some degrees, I get it. You know, not most courtrooms do not have the time and resources to parse hairs on who's allowed where. But a general understanding that, like, this is a pretty short-term boyfriend and it's just not in the children's best interest to be having regular sleepovers with a pretty new figure in their life, I think that is fair to be recognized by the courts, okay?
All of that will be the responsibility of petitioner. As I understand it, this is a 5-year marriage. I'm not ordering support at this time.
Nice, dude. That is the danger line, is the 5-year line. Here in Michigan, 5 years is when assets are 100% 50-50 split without a prenup. If you make it to the 5-year spot in marriage, that is when you really have no protection over your things. Really, I always tell people every marriage, assume that your stuff is their stuff and they're going to cut it right down the middle if push comes to shove, without a prenup, by the way. But, like, in this case, she petitioned for alimony, she petitioned for child support, and a lot of times they will grant that even when it's 50-50, and you got to follow the money. You know, courtrooms do get a certain percentage of every child support payment. And the basis for that is that the court feels that they should be compensated for hunting down this child support money. But quite frankly, if it's 50-50, debatable if the child support is necessary to begin with. It really shouldn't be. In my opinion, child support is for an absent father, not for a bitter mom, as is in this case. Or maybe she's not super bitter. Maybe she just doesn't want to take care of herself. Her and her big baby boyfriend just want to sit around and have this ex-boyfriend pay for their whole lifestyles. And the judge is like completely unimpressed. Look, if you had even remotely a solid case to justify yourself, you don't need a lawyer. There are plenty of people who win pro se against represented clients every day. But she had 0 legs to stand on and made herself look like a complete dumbass. And I want to see the rest of her reaction as this judge completely claps her cheeks.
Excuse me, I'm not ordering any sort of alimony or marital payments to Ms. Lowe at this time in a temporary order. I will adopt 11, 12, 13, 14, as proposed by petitioner. I'm going over to the temporary family law order that petitioner proposed. So I will adopt in its entirety then. the temporary family law order,
A lot
which
of
does
numerical stuff here.
require that the petitioner or allow the petitioner to return to the home and stay in the family home. Respondent must move out of the family home within 30 days of today's date.
Your Honor, will the court address child support today?
I was just going to turn to you and ask the state if, based on my rulings on the temporary orders, if there were any changes to the state's proposals for child support.
There's not. The kids are receiving TANF benefits, and that I know that is a little more complicated because the statute prohibits a residential credit when children are receiving TANF benefits. Our proposed worksheets were filed November 13th.
If you don't know what TANF benefits are, it's the equivalent to like other states' SNAP, WIC, basically just programs that help provide financial support to moms. And the thing about these programs is a lot of times the courts will leave you alone and not require you to have a child support order and will just let you handle everything outside of the courts. Unless you try to apply for benefits, receiving these benefits is generally directly linked to your cooperation with the child support office. Meaning, if you're a woman who applies for these benefits, they're like, well, is there any other man that you can get the money from instead? Right? They don't want to give you government assistance if any man can pay that instead.
Use the father's actual income based on his September 29th wage stub, which he filed with the court. The mother has no employment security history, so we imputed her at minimum wage 32 hours per week. I do note that results in a transfer payment of $1,787 a month from father to essentially to the state of Washington, so long as mom remains on TANF.
Can you imagine, like, you have your kids for half the month and you still have to pay some lady $1,000 a month? That's crazy. I have my daughter full time and I'm pretty sure I'm not spending $1,000 a month on her. Okay, maybe that makes me a bad mom, but like, she's in swimming, she's in gymnastics, she eats really good homemade lunches, we cook for her, she has too many toys and too many outfits, in my opinion. I'm not spending $1,000 a month. Now, to be fair, no, I was going to say they have 2 kids, but I forgot. Only one of these kids is his. She has 3 kids, but 3 different dads. Oh, this is one kid? You're taking $1,000 a month from this guy? For why?
I do recognize, given your ruling, that may seem somewhat unequitable, but I'm not aware of an exception under the law, at least not in regards to a residential credit.
I do believe a residential credit would be appropriate, considering that they are going to be doing 50-50, and it is for 2 children. I also would request that she be imputed at 40 hours a week. There's absolutely no reason she can't work full-time. My client certainly does if he gets by.
I mean, there you go. I don't know why this argument isn't used more often in courtrooms, when, especially in these 50-50 cases. It is so unreasonable for these women to be showing up, having the kids half the time, having the kids equal time to the father, and going, but I can't work, I have the kids too much. And it's like, then explain how the dad is working while having the kids as much as you. The litmus test could not be more clear. You know what I'm saying? that seems like a pretty simple argument to me, and it's so silly that what looks to be such black and white logic has to be really spelled out to some of these people.
And just briefly in reply, Your Honor, the statute, which I don't have in front of me right now, specifically says that a residential credit cannot be granted when a parent is receiving TANF. TANF is evidence that there's insufficient funds in the household to support the children. And then in terms of the mother's income.
Then maybe he should just have sole custody. It seems like this would solve all of the problems for the mother who's failing to provide, for the father who's being completely taken advantage of, and for the state who's needlessly supporting a woman who could very well work but is simply refusing to and taking advantage of the taxpayer dollar. It seems as though if we give dad sole custody, have mom get the child every other weekend, she would be able to work enough, get herself back on her feet, and not have to even receive state benefits. Does that, or is that solution just too easy? Is that anti-mother to suggest?
We followed the imputation statute, which indicates when there's no employment history and a parent is receiving TANF benefits, they're to be imputed at minimum wage 32 hours per week.
Here's what I'm going to do on this, because I don't have, I'm just looking through my papers diligently. Sometimes things get attached to the back of them.
We did not.
Notice, too, that she cannot afford proper representation, and yet they still did her the service of appointing a legal aid who can still represent her best interests. They still gave her that charity and goodwill, and she's still fucking it up.
Not send over a proposed order. I was unsure where primary parent would land.
Understood. Let's do this because let's set this case to December 5 for presentation of the orders I've already ruled on, unless they get signed ahead of time. But it sounds like maybe if Ms. Petrie is arguing that there should be a residential credit, obviously the state's arguing the statute doesn't allow that. We'll set this on for a hearing as to child support on December 5th at 1 o'clock, along with presentation if that has not already been signed.
Okay.
And then certainly, Ms. Petrie, if you want to file briefing with the court, I'll give Judge Bassett a heads up that issue's.
Love Morgan's comment. Your Honor, I have baby-trapped 3 men. This is the only man who has money, so clearly you can see why I need both his house and his money. It should be simple, Your Honor.
Coming, but if you want to file any short briefing, feel free to do so. Any questions or clarifications on the temporary orders?
Oh, please say something, Amber.
Yes, Your Honor. I would just ask that since the court is granting his petition to have me move within 30 days, given my circumstances of him leaving the home willingly and my pregnancy and having to relocate.
Why do women just get perpetually knocked up over and over again by bum-ass dudes with no job who can't support them and then make it everyone else's problem? They really do. They just have the audacity to be like, but I'm pregnant. Literally none of us made you sign into Tinder, find the first desperate ass Chad to deal with you and your dumbassery, bring him over to your ex-husband's home and rail him out time and time again without the single solitary tiniest consideration for protection, despite your past 2 failed relationships and having to fight for support. I don't know if maybe you thought that this was going to be another meal ticket for you, but none of us were there making you do that. So why then does it become all of society's responsibility to bend over backwards to make sure that you, a dumbass, can feel better about yourself? It's not. It's not. It simply is not. To the question of does she have lip filler, man, I was wondering that. I was.
My other kids, including the ones I share with him, that at this time, I'd be given more than 30 days.
Wait, is she now saying that... Is she now referring to the child that she had before she even met him as a child that she shares with him? Because unless he legally adopted the child... Sorry, but he doesn't have any more responsibility to your other child legally. He seems like the kind of guy who it wouldn't surprise me if, he still involved that other child to be close with their sibling, but no, that's a child you made before you ever even laid eyes on him. That's not a child that you share. That's a child that you have continuously forced him to be responsible for because you won't step up in any way. Bilson says it's 2024, instant gratification beats accountability. God, that is so true. That should be on a t-shirt. Dylan, because vagina. It's this Shella. It's society's fault for my breeding kink, Your Honor.
To find new residents, I know the petitioner had told me in person that he would extend it till January if it went this way, but I don't know what their feelings are on the matter.
What I'm going to do right now, and you know, one of the reasons I'm making this ruling is I do think it's wholly inappropriate that for this court to have Mr. Lowe paying for household expenses when another adult is living in that marital house. So I am going to keep the 30 days right now, but if Ms. Petrie wants to, if her client wants to work with Ms. Lowe on an extension of that, we can certainly add that to the order. I have no issue with the parties going beyond 30 days. I wouldn't agree to anything less than 30 days. I do think that 30 days to move out is sufficient. But again, if Mr. Lowe wants to agree to longer, feel free to put that in the order. I have no problem signing.
At this point, though, I agree that, like, 30 days is tight. I think anybody would be stressing having to move out after 30 days. But it's like, if I was in her shoes and I knew that it had gone this far, and I also knew for months and months and months and months that he was fighting this, I would have started looking. Like a whole, you know, hope for sunshine, prepare for rain situation. Like, you wouldn't build a house without a roof just because you live in Arizona. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if she honestly thought that the chances of the home being reallocated to her ex-husband were very low, which I think a lot of us thought going into this court. We're like, very rarely do they, like, move ownership of the marital home back to the person who left. Very rarely. Even if she thought it was going to go her way, like, I would still, for the sake of my numerous children that I can't stop having, at least have a backup plan. But, like, this is a woman who at one point must have been told a man is a plan, and then despite several failed relationships just can't figure it out.
I need that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all. If there's no other questions, you all are free to log out.
Like, I just want to know.
Damn. So, a karma for him. We love to see it. We really do. But also, like, take notes, y'all. If there was anything that you could learn from that courtroom, one of the things that man did very well, that the father in this case did extremely well, was nothing. And what I mean by this is that this is one of the biggest reasons that it's nice to pay for a lawyer sometimes, is you don't have to talk. You don't have to worry about losing your shit. You know what I mean? One of the best things that he was able to pay for, and that was an extremely competent lawyer. We love to see an extremely competent lawyer, okay? But one of the things that he really got to pay for was sitting there, expressionless. He nailed it, because oftentimes fathers in the courtroom are under such scrutiny that if they so much as smirk or make a face, the judge will, like, call them out on it. Like, what is that face, sir? What is that supposed to imply? So he really nailed it by just sitting back, letting the facts speak for themselves, and allowing her to tell on herself. He did very well there. Like, sometimes it might be hard to sit back and, like, let someone lie on you and talk their shit, but other times you find yourself in a situation of, like, if you wait long enough, they'll do your job for you. You just gotta let them tell on themselves, okay? For example, like, when we were in court, by the time they literally said the world would have to be ending for my client to consider allowing any extra time, with the dad. By the time they said that, pretty much everyone was like, so you're crazy. So you're unreasonable. There was another moment in the court, it was so funny. They were arguing over whether or not they should listen to my stepson's opinion. My stepson, who is 15, right? They're arguing about it. And her lawyer literally goes, well, if you talk to him, he's just going to say that he wants to be with his dad. So why are we here? So why are you here arguing against what you have just admitted is the child's best interest? This is wild and wacky. Exactly, Chip. You just let them dig their own hole. It's one of the toughest lessons I've had to learn, is to have the patience to let people tell on themselves. But it's also one of the best lessons I've learned up there with, like, sometimes you just have to let yourself be the victim or the villain in someone's story. It's such a vacation. Once you finally accept that you will always be the bad guy to somebody and that you're never going to change their mind, it's pretty freeing, actually. All right. Our next story. I know I want to do some revenge ones. Is there anything else that I wanted to show you guys? Okay. Aw, dang it. I had a good petty revenge for you guys, but it got deleted. Alright, so this one is crazy. You guys ready for this one? This one was posted to Best of Redditor Updates, which means that we get the full conclusive story in its entirety, so we're not left hanging at all. This reads, I received a request for child support from a woman I've never met. I am a cis woman and have never had children. This how you know they're down bad. These women are down bad, bad. They can't find the dad, so they're like, I'll just put a woman's name down. She writes, a few days ago, I received a notice from an attorney that I am being sued for child support from a woman I have never met or heard of. For context, I am a biological cis woman. I am straight. I have 0 children. I've never done surrogacy, egg donation, or even given birth, nor come close to it. I contacted the attorney listed on the document, a fairly well-known attorney around where I live, to make sure it was legit, and yeah, it's legit. He stated that his client came to him to sue me for backdated and future child support for her 15-year-old, and stated that I am the biological father. The attorney had my name, address, and info, like my birthday, where I went to high school, etc. Yet somehow they did not know that I am a woman. The attorney also stated that the woman is in her 40s, repeated her name to me, and verified with me if I know her. I have to stress to you guys, before we even go on, that she did this because she knew it was possible. There are countless cases, I need you to know, countless cases out there where a woman sues for child support, puts in all the information, because you have to know a lot of information about someone, but it doesn't have to be accurate, okay? You can put any guy's name that you know. A situation that comes to mind immediately is the situation of Carnell Alexander from Detroit, Michigan. And this was a man who, just like this biological straight cis woman, was sued for child support by a woman who he never even slept with. Now, in his situation, at least it was a little bit more plausible because he at least had the equipment to produce semen enough to make a baby, but he literally had never even porked this broad. But one day, he gets pulled over for a routine traffic stop, and they say, hey, wait a minute, you're about 10 years delinquent on your child support, bub. We're gonna need to take you into the slammer. And Carnell Alexander is like, I'm sorry, bitch, what? And they proceed to tell him, oh yeah, 10 years ago, you got sued by this lady, and she sent the courtroom filing address, she sent the notice of the courtroom appearance to this address here, where you clearly lived, and you didn't show up. So they ruled for the child support, and you haven't been paying on it for 10 years, you goddamn dirty deadbeat. And he's like, I'm sorry, during what time? Yeah, I was in jail. I literally could not have been served at that address because my address was already behind bars. I also could not have impregnated her because I was behind bars. And you know what they did? They let him go. Nope, just kidding. He still has to pay off all of the retroactive child support. They gave him a nice little victory by agreeing to end the child support at where it was at because he did indeed prove that he was not the biological father. But because he never fought this case earlier, because he literally had no way of knowing about it, he still owes this random ass woman $15,000. If you Google him, you'll still see that he has lawyers still working on this case, and that this first happened back in like 2012. One of the most insane cases that I've ever heard of. So if you're wondering, how did we get here? It's because we've been here. We've been living in hell. She goes on to say, I stated that I've never met or heard of her. I am a biological woman who has never had a child, and even brought up that if I was a man and I was the bio dad, how would she not be in trouble for statutory RAPE, as I would have barely been 15 when the child was conceived, and she would have been in her mid to late 20s. Man, this lady did not think at all when finding her next victim. The attorney stated that as an attorney, he needs to be following through, and I need to see him and sign the documents to do a DNA test to confirm any relationship to the child. I informed the attorney that it is literally impossible for me to be the father, but he won't take no for an answer and told me to bring my lawyer to his office tomorrow. Damn, proving to family court that you're not a man is as hard as doing it in the Olympics these days, huh? This reminds me of this one time that I got carded at a bar, but I somehow didn't have my ID with me, and I was like, can I show you my C-section scar? What can we do to get through here? She says, do I actually need to get an attorney? Can I just show up and be like, look at me? I need some proper guidance on where to go from here. This sounds like a very elaborate long con to get this lady to flash a bunch of strangers to me. A weird way to force someone to show everyone her vagina, but guess we're there now. This is why people despise lawyers. Like, to be fair, so much crazy shit goes on in family court offices that I understand why Better Call Saul here had to be like, can you just show up and show me that you're not a woman? Like, I know this sounds stupid, but, like, we've had men lie about not being men before. You know what I mean? Like, wasn't there, wasn't it, like, New Mexico or something? It might have been completely different. I might be thinking of, like, Brazil. But there was a dad who literally claimed to be trans for the sole purpose of, in that country, women are just awarded natural guardianship by means of being women. So he was like, well, now I'm a mom, so. Like, truly, I typically am not going to question someone's trans identity, but, like, you know things are down bad when people are becoming trans just to be present in their kids' lives. But this has been happening since the Miss Doubtfire days, so. Sir, why are you yelling at me? Aww. Do you need to go outside? Are you the babiest baby who's ever babied? Okay. Give me a second. we're gonna let the baby outside, and I will be right back. Uno momento. Okay, I'm back. And I have brought cat tax. Also, the reason that the dogs were yelling at me is because TJ is home. He's back from school. Shout out to higher education. So we might be able to use a TJ card or two if we want TJ tax. But in the meantime, we has Mochi tax. You good, bud? He looks like Eeyore. He looks like he's just given up and surrendered. Would you like to hang out? It's okay. It's okay. I can handle rejection. It's fine. So it doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm not upset about this. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just get back to it. I know he is a heckin' chonk, ain't he? Cat's got a cat. Very true. I love that your username is Gyarados. I've never met a Gary who has done that. Amazing. TJ, Dylan wants to know how school was. I already asked him, but
I'm an old. I'm definitely an old.
is it just because everyone there is so young?
Everyone's just like, yeah.
That's how I felt it at my job. It's
Yeah.
like all the new employees just kept getting younger and younger, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm auntie.
Yeah, there's people who are like, I'm a third year in college, and I'm like, no, you're a junior in high school. Like, stop it. This is, no.
I know. Everyone in like their early 20s, it feels like being on like an elementary school playground. I'm like, oh, you're just a baby in this world.
Yeah, and it's like, no offense to them, like, they've definitely got a decent amount of life experience, but it's like...
We've got the cerebellum effect going on right now.
What do you mean?
The Dr. Cerebellum. We were just
Oh, the
like,
Mrs. Cerebellum?
Yeah.
Miss Bellum!
Yeah. No, he's not pulling up a chair. We'll have to use our TJ cards sparingly. He's got things to do. Anyway, so we got past the first update. She gets sued for child support. What happens next? Next update. First, to answer some questions I received via DM and saw posted. No, I do not have a masculine or gender neutral name. I actually have a very long feminine first and middle name. Both are also spelled very uniquely. Yes, I have brothers. No, none of them have passed, so I wasn't being sued in their place. They are all alive and well and even easier to get in touch with than I am, as I'm not even on social media, and they are all very active on social media and have public pages, LinkedIn profiles, etc. I wonder if that actually made her more of the reason that she was targeted for this. Because one thing that I bring up a lot is that people who are most likely to be shamed by their spouse online or just shamed online in general are people who are unlikely to see it and react to it and defend themselves, right? So this might be a person who was trying to, like I mentioned with the Carnell Alexander situation, trying to find someone who was unlikely to be aware of this maybe, but since it's most of the stuff goes through in-person mail instead of social media, that seems like such a strange thing to do. Yes, I also have a father. No, he wasn't the one I was being sued for CS on behalf of. In the beginning, this woman stated that I didn't even have any family, by the way. She told the attorneys I can give him the family he's never had since he's been alone his whole life, referring to me as he. This is crazy. So she's trying to, like, make herself look like this martyr who's, like, giving this person a gift. Hey, yo. Even if one of my brothers was the father and I did a DNA test, which I didn't, there would still be no way to prove I'm biologically related to this child as I'm adopted. The layers of this story get crazier and crazier. Please keep doing what you do. I just found closure after 10 years. I was gaslit. I had a child that got deleted or never saw. She faked the test. Wait, for 10 years? Can you email me? I feel like I need a whole story time on that. I have heard, sadly, a lot of faked pregnancy stories, but like decades long? I'm out. Gotta go prep for the surprise anniversary evening with the missus. Have a good remainder of the stream. Oh my god, that's amazing. I hope that goes so much better than the time that my dad tried to have a surprise party for my mom and she just raged on him because she doesn't like surprises and it hurt his feelings. I hope it goes a lot better for you. Oh god. She says, no, I thankfully have not been the victim of identity theft. This was not someone posing as me. And thankfully there was no shady shit in trying to change the paperwork from bio dad to mom. Even in the documents this woman's lawyer presented to my attorney and the documents I was sent, that it clearly stated that I was supposedly the biological father. Now, as to what happened. I went to the attorney's office with my attorney as he requested during our call yesterday. God, she got an attorney? This sucks, dude. And guess what? The suit was dismissed. It happened very quickly, thank God. I thought we would meet with the judge because that's how I assumed it worked, but we went to the lawyer's office and met with him and the woman who filed the suit. Oh my god, so she actually got to like be in the same room as this woman? It would take everything in me to not cause a scene. And this is like coming from the person who literally just talked to you guys about the importance of remaining stoic while in court. Would take everything in me not to go like absolute rampage mode. She says, I got an attorney as I reached out to a friend who lives in my state as a lot of his family are attorneys. Turns out his aunt handles family cases, got me in touch with her, and after I told her the situation, she laughed and said she'd do it pro bono just for entertainment. Okay, best case scenario. Apparently she knows the other attorney and said he's a dick, so I guess that's a benefit for me since she was more than happy to represent me. Dude, I feel like I would, if I was a lawyer, it'd be really hard to make someone pay for that case too. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what? Please let me go to this. We met with the attorney, showed them my birth certificate, ID, passport, adoption papers, and my initial birth certificate prior to adoption for good measure. The attorney was frustrated with his client, but very kind with myself and my attorney about it. He apologized for the inconvenience. The whole thing was dismissed, and while my attorney initially suggested an order of protection, because clearly this woman was unwell, as we were in the office, she was saying that I was a man who had a sex change to dodge support, which is why she referred to me as he, and said I make more than enough money, and my money belongs to her and our child. We ultimately decided against the RO, as after all this insanity, she was honest about how this came about. She, myself, and my male cousin used to work in the same place over a decade ago. I worked a different shift in a different part of the building. She was a secretary and he was a typical office worker. He is the father of her child, as apparently they had known each other for years prior. But he is also now a convicted violent felon, currently incarcerated and not on the birth certificate. They were the same age and went to school together in the next town over. Since she had access to my information, as the office still has prior employee records and knows I'm his cousin, as he told her I was his cousin and I worked there, even though I never crossed paths with either of them there, didn't even know she worked there, knew he did but never saw him during different shifts and areas, she said she confirmed the connection via Facebook because he has our family listed, and with that she was able to link my cousin to his father, which led to my mother, as he has her listed as a sister. She's his sister-in-law. My mother was always my emergency contact, so she has access to the information. So she said that since she was able to get my contact information in the easiest way, if that's the easiest way to get a person's contact information, I don't need to see the hardest way. Oh my God. You literally were doing secret intelligence service operations to find a baby daddy and still fucked up because you didn't even find a biological man or even remotely a man. You didn't even try to get a trans man, lady. She figured she could throw a suit at me, get a DNA test, and lead back to him, and she would try to go over him and sue my uncle for support, as he retired from a good job and has disposable income, and my cousin is incarcerated. It's like, even when she explained herself, I'm just left with more questions now. That's wild. It's like she was still trying to keep it in the family, but was trying to get, like, whoever had the most money? She says, no, I don't understand her thought process because honestly I have no idea how any of this works or if that is even a thing she could possibly do. Also, she said she was recently fired, which is why this came up now. And since she knew my cousin was incarcerated and she needed money, she found me via our last name and made a copy of my resume and important info in my life. After all the theatrics and chaos, she said she finally decided to give up the fight because she realized she couldn't win. I love that they always try to make it sound like their own idea. Like, you know what? I'm going to let you off the hook. I don't want to make you go through all this. You know, I'm going to be the bigger person, and I'm just going to let this one go. Lady, I didn't even know you existed. You are doing me no kinds of charity, okay? And also, I agree, Chili Damon. CPS should visit that lady. This is so far beyond resolved for me. She says, especially once I presented my paperwork and mentioned that some of it was my initial adoption/birth records before adoption, as that's when she realized there was a 0 chance that the DNA test would get her where she wanted anything. Sorry if this isn't the super exciting update you were looking for, but I'm just glad it's over. Hope you all have a great day. Yeah, that's crazy. And it honestly seems to me like this was an idea that's been brewing in her head for a long time. Because remember, the child here is 15 years old. We are like 3 years out of completely aging out of the system. The time is running out to get money out of somebody. She's probably been thinking this over for a really long time because she had a whole roster of dudes that she was going to try to get money out of. This is so cringe and embarrassing and scary enough. Like I mentioned, the reason that she thought that this could work is because it has worked in the past. It's just crazy to me that she didn't think this through all the way. She honestly thought that if she could just get a person with money who shares any DNA with the father, that it would have the same results in a child support case that is determined from biological paternity. That's where we get really crazy. Lady, you'd be better off getting some super, like, orbiter simp guy to step up as stepdad and then sue him for child support. You honestly would be better off, because then there would at least be some established reasonable role in the child's life. But you can't just be like, well, can I sue his third cousin twice removed for child support? They're related and I know their address. Does this work? Dude, instant regret. I just wish we had the instant karma of them just being like, you know what? Wouldn't it be so funny if she was just like, I'm not the dad, I don't know you, but I do think I'd be better off with the kid, and they just like mishoneyd it and gave her the kid anyway. Wouldn't that be wild? Oh, you're joining
Miles.
us.
Go on, Miles.
Oh, yeah. TJ secured. Let me scooch this over a little bit then. Focus. Hold on, I might have to scooch. A little bit más. Okay, that's not.
I'm still having the misspell on my face.
That ain't right. Hey, yo, that ain't right. Okay. Please. I just wanted to do a little simple scoochy scooch. Why won't it? What am I doing wrong here?
You need to go outside.
He's mad at me. I did not take him for his usual stroll. But if you can be a good patient boy, we will go. Go on. Go on. I know. Go on. Go on, buddy. Go on.
Outside.
He's so needy.
Alright, he's gotta pee.
I literally just let him out. It's the attention he craves. He knows that you're here giving me attention, which is attention that is not being properly allocated to the Miles budget. You look the happiest when TJ joins you. I love my fisticuffs today.
Parker's like,
Okay.
all right, head of security.
By the way, just so you guys know, all donos today will be going toward getting Parker our 12-year-old chocolate lab boxer mix. One of those hip, I don't know if it's like a hip harness, but one of those like hip wears that has a handle on it. He's an elder dog, as much as I do not like admitting it.
He's
But
not
the
just
hips
an elder
are...
dog, he's an ancient dog for the breed that he is.
I know, but it's getting a lot harder for him to get up, so we want to get one of those like really nice. They're like $150, but like the dog wears it, and then you can use it to like help hoist them up like stairs and stuff like that. It's gotten to that point, so
He's 12.
I'll
He'll
donos
be
go to Parker
thir-
today.
I think he might be 11, but
He's 12.
He's 12. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a 12-year-old Labrador.
Yep, because ever since we brought him in 2 years ago and they said, oh, he's 10, that means that he's toward the end of his life, and I almost like punched that veterinarian in the face. It's been very clinically aware. Emil, thank you so much. Happy Friday to you.
Ha! It's in front of your face this time.
As well. I know. Well, don't I just have Emil on my face? That sounded so much dirtier than I intended it to. I'm so sorry. I meant it to sound silly and funny, but...
He's very young on the inside. He just can't, like, maneuver around as much as he would like to. He kind of lays in one spot as much as he can.
Okay. Let's see. For our next story.
Oh, okay.
We get a little sneaky peek. My pupper has degrading hips and he's around the same age. He's had problems since he was a puppy. Sometimes it just takes patience and he struggles to get around some days. I know. Luckily Parker's been like very, very healthy. Another one just to see that man's face. TJ Tax.
That's...
Love that.
Thanks, guys.
TJ's the real star of the show. Wait, what? man bun teach you about men? Oh boy. Someone who thinks that a hairstyle immediately mitigates an entire man's masculinity. You're right, Eric. His hair completely takes away from the masculine fact that he moved 250 miles away from all of his friends, family, resources, and job to be as close to his son and physically possible. Has been an active and present father in both of his kids' lives since day one. Has consistently provided for us and protected us. Makes me feel incredibly safe knowing that I don't have to worry about domestic labor falling to the wayside or not being supported as a woman or not having my shit railed out by the biggest I've ever experienced in my entire life as often as I could possibly want. Yeah, Eric, you tell me what masculinity really is when you're literally terrified of the concept of someone else who's not you being gay.
Thank you, Dylan.
Tell me more about what it means to be a real man when literally the concept of a rainbow makes you quake in your fucking boots. You go on. Tell me, Eric. You kidding me? That's hilarious.
That's
hilarious.
That was
Hold
a
on.
silly little bit.
Hallie, thank you for the 5 for the doggo. Shelby, thank you for the 10 for the fur baby. Mine has a limp right now as well. Watching her take stairs hurts me inside. Yeah.
Dude, he insists on following us up and down the basement stairs.
That's why I'm like, if
dude,
we could at least just follow him with like one of these,
I'll do it. Like he's like, oh, you guys are playing D&D. We gotta go down there.
Neuroped's dad wanted to say happy 25th to my wonderful wife. Dude, we all want to wish her a happy birthday too.
Okay, yeah.
Also, loved your stream the other day, TJ.
Aw, thanks, guys. Yay.
Yay. Dude, trying to, like, insult TJ in my chat is a death wish. You will
It's
get
so funny because,
cooked
like,
day in and day out. Like, we all love TJ here. What are you doing?
It's so funny because, like, in the grand scheme of things, men with long hair is, like, kind of the norm. You know, pretty much no matter where you go in the world, long hair relative for whatever that culture is. So it's like... it's a weird thing
That was
to be
a very
like
silly thing.
Yeah, it was really weird and very, very silly. Not like fun, silly, goosey, like
I don't know why people do. Every once in a while, people will try to do that when I have TJ on stream, as they'll be like, maybe if I make fun of TJ, it will make Lauren notice me. It's like, it's gonna make me clap your cheeks is what it's gonna make you do. And not in a good way, neither. Alright, Magnus says, thank you for all you do in bringing light to male issues. I appreciate the channel. Thank you guys so much. And then Hagrave, not to be confused with Hagravens, I'm assuming. Doggy handlebars sound like something else at first, but I'm all for butt lifts when it comes to puppies. Give Parker that
fucking
beauty.
hilarious. 25th wedding anniversary. Well, hey, even more congrats.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. We're kind of close. Okay, like 8 years of marriage, but like...
We're almost halfway to them in terms of being together.
Think about this, though. The average marriage only lasts 7 years. So you are 3 times longer than the average marriage. Shella says, if Venom Snake has a man bun, then it is masculine. Dude, do you know how many Vikings were literally out there, like, with full-ass man buns
it was
while
like
conquering entire
it's
territories?
like taking care of your hair and, like...
Which is kind of toxic masculinity, but...
Yeah, well, it was...
the hair part wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being so easily offended that someone else's hairstyle makes you cry and then having the audacity to tell people what a real man looks like.
Yeah, Lauren, listen, my favorite couples dynamic...
Oh, Levi's back, thank God.
Yeah.
Levi is... I've had no one here to tell me to calm down. We tried to fill your stat, but it's not the same.
It's like, if I could encapsulate, it's the, I don't know what Green Arrow and Black Canary comic it's from, but it's when they're sitting at a bar and someone comes up and, like, starts to, like, just talk bullshit to Ollie and he's just ignoring them. And then Black Canary turns around and starts, like, getting in the guy's face and he's like, oh man, do you need your woman to, like, do you like your woman to fight? And he's like, well, I don't
Yes.
need her to. And then she like throws him across the bar, and he's like, but I sure like it when she does. It's like, it's one of those where, you know, you start to loosen the tie, and then she just like walks in front of you in the foreground of the camera. The little kind of like bass guitar, like, like comes in, and, you know,
Okay,
I
quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Dylan says, a real man goes bald. It's not just me, right? Actually, Dylan, going bald is a sign of very high testosterone, and majoritively men with the highest calculations of testosterone are the ones who go bald first. So,
I just have
like,
an Italian grandpa.
unironically, yes, a real man goes bald, actually.
Hey, man. Watch our stream on Sundays. Mike's got a nice little shine, and he's the size of a door frame. He's one of the most positively masculine people that I could think of just off the cuff.
Also has a very successful relationship with a very lovely
Mm-hmm.
young lady. Okay, let's get into this. Our next story. Would I be the a-hole for calling off my engagement after my fiance basically said I'm not exciting? This was also posted to Best of Redditor updates, so we are going to get like the full conclusive story, not left in the dark. Some stories in this subreddit are labeled ongoing. This one is conclusively concluded. Let's read. I, a 29-year-old male, know this may sound like a huge overreaction on my part, but my head has been ringing ever since this happened. I've been engaged to my fiancé, a 28-year-old female, for a few months now. We had dated for just shy of 2 years prior to that. It would be cliche to say everything was going great, but for the most part it was good. Let me read this.
Oh no, I have arm layer.
Jack,
No.
That's so funny.
Listen. My mom's dad, my Italian grandpa,
Is that
and
a
my
doom brag?
and my dad's grandpa, my Belgian great grandfather, they had the thickest,
Your grandson is fucked.
like supernatural head of hair up to the day that they died. Both of them.
He'll be back. Our doggo bark. He says, my family really took a liking to her, which was also really great. Can you still hear me? That's a no. He'll be back. As will you, sir. Mr. Baby Man is here. Now, I've never been the one to think too much about how I'm viewed as a partner, but all of that changed recently. I basically overheard her on the phone telling her friend that if she wants to find the one, excitement isn't important. She basically said, my partner isn't exciting, but he makes me feel safe, and that's when I realized I wanted to settle down with him. What do you think about that initial statement?
I have...
Hold on, wait, before you respond.
Sure.
Steve B says, the only truly masculine haircut is the MacGyver mullet. Here's to enhancing the doggo with machinery. Thank you so much, dude. Robo Parker. I'm gonna show you guys all his beautiful.
Now that has
suit.
to happen to Ellis in the comic at some point because he's such an old dog.
Oh my
right.
gosh. Okay, so she
Okay.
overhears her partner, or sorry, he overhears his girlfriend, fiance, on the phone, saying, if you want to find the right one, he doesn't need to be exciting. My partner's not exciting, but he makes me feel safe. Is that just a really bad compliment or a red flag?
This is one of those things that I think in their mind, they're saying, my partner is not exciting. And what they mean is, my partner isn't a chaotic hold my beer, breaking a limb every other season kind of guy. My partner is safe and reliable. I think she's using the word exciting and equating it to doesn't take high risks, which is, but he heard it as, I'm not fun. She doesn't have fun with me. And it's like, motherfucker, she's agreeing to marry you, pardon my French, but it's like she's agreeing to marry you. She clearly likes you. She clearly has fun with you.
I'm gonna give some pushback here.
All right, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just assuming.
gonna
I don't
give
know this guy. I don't know this guy.
Neither do I, but where I'm gonna give some pushback is that not everyone,
Right,
like,
you're right. I knew
simply
exactly where you were
marrying
going with that.
someone,
Yep.
not enough proof that they like
Dude,
that person.
dude, no,
sadly.
you're
It should be.
100%.
It should be, but it's not anymore.
Well, especially back in the day, if people did like arranged stuff, sometimes you wouldn't even know the person, dude.
Yeah, dude. I've heard of so many stories where someone is like, I mean, I don't even really like them, but I'm gonna have resources for life.
Right. It's one of those things where and it's one of those things where he might not have like heard the whole context, you know. It could be one of those things where it's like, he's not very exciting, full context. I love my board game nights with my fiance.
Yeah.
But he's only hearing this one thing, so he's like, oh man.
You know what?
Because every guy wants. If I heard that, if you're like, oh, TJ's not exciting, I would be like, first of all, I'd be like, what the fuck do you mean I'm not exciting?
But that's true. That's true, because there's probably times that, like, if you overheard every single conversation with a friend, there have probably been times that I said something along the lines of, like, oh, TJ's boring. He always just wants me home with him every night. You know what I mean? And it's like, do I actually mean that you're boring, or do I mean that, like, you're not a chaotic, unpredictable.
Like, well, hold on. Let's not go that far. I can be somewhat, at least, unpredictable.
Like, I could see it being said in, like, an almost, like, facetious, harmless way. Especially because so many of us are, like, used to chaos in our lives to a point where, like, we kind of thrive in it after a while. And we are almost, like, too scared off by the safe guy. Exactly. I see boring as a compliment. And I've even told women, I'm like, you want the boring guy. You want the guy who, like, eats the same sandwich every day.
That's autism.
You know? You want the autistic guy. I've been trying to tell them.
Actually, listen, and this is probably just my algorithm giving me, but there's been a lot of videos where I'll see, like a married couple and just like, do you want to find happiness? And it's like, find that Audi HD King who's bought the same pair of sneakers since he was 12 years old and only eats the same 3 types of lunches.
Dude.
And I'm like, that's so fun. I know what you're saying, though, because it comes with certain other traits. But that's the thing is,
if I heard you say I wasn't exciting, I would be really sad.
But you are in it. You do more athletic stuff. Like, that's the thing. Maybe he's one of those people. That's the other thing. Maybe he does, like, super athletic stuff, and he's like, what do you mean I'm not exciting? I play hockey on the weekends. I do pick up.
I'm actually not that exciting, which is really funny. Like, it depends on, like, how you look at it. Like,
I want everybody to know, as she says this, I am looking at, I'm not going to pretend to count, probably 35 race medals. I don't want to, like, fuck the kid. Guys, some of these are the coolest medals you've ever seen. She's like, this is like a race that's meant to be the same amount of movement as this big mountain trail in Norway. I can't go to Norway, but me and, like, a bunch of these people in, like, Korea and, like, Slovakia are gonna go through this, and it's gonna be fun. And look, me and this one, like, Estonian girl are tied for first place, and it's like, that's exciting, even if you're not, like, actively, like racing this person in, like, a sports anime. Like, it's still there. You're still doing exciting things.
That's so true. If
travel the country advocating for legislation, despite what some people may think they know about you.
I don't have a charity, so all of my work doesn't matter.
Your charity's the fucking laws getting passed. Like, I don't need... Like, what did I say this morning? Like, the charities are for people who can't get... Like, you can't actively get the shit done. The charity is there because there's not a law. There's not a law, and so the charity's like, hey, this is to, like, kind of bandage that wound, but the law is like, no, dude, we're gonna put a bar in your arm and fix this thing. It's gonna work better than ever. Like, that's
so true. If someone tried to say, like, TJ's not exciting, I would be like, he creates his entire own universes and then spends hours with his friends exploring them. I hear their laughter resonating through all 3 floors of our house. Also, Steve B says the good touch is a touch of the tism.
I agree. It is, if I learned anything from Delicious in Dungeon, that it is autism that is the true spice of life.
Levi, I do agree with prenups, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For everybody at this point. Everybody, prenup, postnup, protect yourself. For the pupper, hold on, I gotta make it bigger and blind. No, it won't.
Oh.
As the donor button below your Twitch stream isn't working right. Streamlabs loads up your donor page and immediately kicks me over to your stream, and Streamlabs can't access. What the heck? Hold on, I'll try to fix that.
Oh, I wonder if that's what's working with mine too.
I was wondering about that. I actually just went through and thought that I had it working. We added 50 bits to Dragoon 790's tier. Aww, thanks, Twitch. That was nice of you. Let me fix that. Note to self.
So, any lingering anime questions while Lauren is fixing this?
This won't take very long.
Oh,
Oh
never
god, my
mind
phone
that.
is
We don't have time to
dying.
get into that.
No, we don't. We have to get back to the update.
We have to get back to the update. I've only given my first thoughts. I want to hear more of this.
Yeah, because we just heard, and I think we're kind of like nuanced. The initial statement, like, needs further clarification.
I don't like, because here's my thing. First of all,
You're like, I'm not offended at all.
First of all, I'm not. First of all, he says, but I also, for probably more than half of my actual dating life, I was a dad. So I needed to be boring and safe because I wanted to be a good dad. So my kids were...
It worked for me. I was
Thanks,
literally
but
like,
it's
oh,
like,
I don't want to date anybody.
my
I'm
thing-
not interested. And then I was like, oh god, but he's so consistent.
Delicious in Dungeon is confirmed for
Oh
season
god,
2.
yeah, we love that. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well,
I'm
you
gonna.
spent half
I'm
your
gonna.
life dating
I'll
as a
answer
dad.
those. So I spent half my life dating as a dad. So I was trying to get that, but here's my problem, and this is why I have a problem with Mr. Popo. Whoever asked that question. That's such a weird matchup. He says she basically said. So I'm like, okay, did she say, or did she basically say Trent? Because that's very important for me to understand the context of the story.
Good point.
Did she say, he just doesn't, like, do really crazy, exciting things?
Yes.
It's like, and did you hear one thing when she actually said another? It's like, because you're coming to me now, and the first thing I would ask you, if you and I were sitting across from each other, sharing a pint or a cup of coffee, is I'd be like, is that what she said, or is that, like, about what she said? And it's like, because I just want to understand this enough.
That's a good point.
Thank you. And it's like, before we get started, I just reread
if
that
this is
last
like
sentence we ended on.
a butchered paraphrasing, it could completely change it.
Because here's the thing. I look at it and I go, if the butchered paraphrasing is just, he isn't exciting, but this last end goes, but he makes me feel safe, and that's when I realized I wanted to settle down. That's called husband material! Motherfucker, that's the woman you're looking for. What doesn't that make you think that's the man she's looking for? You want the person that makes you settle down, like, who makes you want to go, you know what? I don't need to go off on a wild tear like there's a hair up my ass every weekend. This person makes me want to just actually Netflix and chill, but every once in a while, like, Netflix and chill. And it's like, you want that person that, like, makes you just feel, oh man, you can unmask around them, not to use, like, the neurodivergence terms, but even, like, holistic people are able to unmask around someone that they're comfortable with, and they don't have to put on that facade socially. And I think that's, settling down does not equal settling. I think he misheard.
So, he says, this hit me kind of hard, Reddit. I've read these types of posts before. You know, the whole she goes for bad boys, then settles with a safe schmuck type of thing. But I don't think that's what she meant. So the day after, I just straight up told her that I overheard her talking about me, and that I don't understand what she meant by not finding me exciting. She then told me that it's true that she doesn't find me exciting, but that it doesn't matter. I honestly felt very hurt. Maybe my ego is fragile? I don't know, but it was a surprise to me because I felt like the way I see myself in my head was colliding with how she sees me, and it made me feel spaced out. I asked her what she means by not finding me exciting, and she didn't seem to know how to even answer. She could see I was upset, and as pathetic as this sounds, I made an excuse to leave and said we'll talk about it later. Ever since then, my head has been spinning. I ride motorcycles. I have tattoos. I go to the gym. I do MMA as a hobby. So how is it that I'm not the exciting guy? I've always seen myself as being that exciting guy. My ex was basically obsessed with me and constantly made it clear she found me exciting. But my now fiancé doesn't see me as exciting for whatever reason. I was honestly shocked because I felt my sense of self kind of crumble. And what made it worse is I am excited by her. When I see her, I want to rip her clothes off. I want to do things. I think about her. But she seemingly doesn't see me the same way at all. As crazy as this sounds, I've considered calling off the engagement entirely. Am I being crazy here?
You said there's an update. So before the
Yes.
update, ooh, that's weird. But it's like,
I can see both sides. Now I'll tell you, the comments started tearing him apart for that last part. They were like, "Oh really? You're exciting because you have tattoos and you ride a motorcycle?
right, I'm a bad boy,
wow,
but I'm not like
you
the
know?
other bad boys. It's like, but
But at the same time, I kind of see where he's coming from, especially when he said, I do MMA as a hobby, because, like, when I think of the more exciting parts about my personality, I think about stuff like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I think about Mr. Oof back there, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, I think I'm exciting. I practice strangling people, you know?
think this...
But, like, it is... I get where he's coming from, because it's like... Aren't those the things that are supposed to, like, kind of define being an exciting person? Like, he's kind of fearless. He, you know, is a bit of an adrenaline junkie. Like, he stays in shape and is interested in things that aren't just, like, playing video games at home.
I think that the reason she's having trouble talking about the exciting is, I think, and this happened with us, not this, but, like, I think the problem here is... she's using the word exciting, and it is not the way that he understands the word exciting. And I think one of them...
Yeah, and she changed it to, like, sorry, I didn't mean
spontaneous.
exciting. I meant, like, God, what's another one?
Spontaneous.
Dramatic?
That's the thing. No. It can be spontaneous. Like, he
Yeah,
always
that's
goes to
fair.
the gym. He might be super reliable. That's what it is. Like, she might be thinking spontaneous. Like, you don't do anything exciting. You don't like exciting. Like, oh, I feel
true.
excited. It's like, okay, that's not him being exciting. You need to, what is he doing that makes you excited? He's being spontaneous. Is that what you mean? Is you mean that you want him to be like, hey, we're going out tonight, or you know what? How about you come on the motorcycle with me? Or look, I got a sidecar, or let's go on this trip. Like, do something that she's not expecting. Because, I mean, I know, especially when you were at your most, like, gym rat-y, that it was like, I knew when you were at the gym. Like, clockwork. It is super reliable. And we know some people who have motorcycles and ride motorcycles that aren't the most exciting folks on the planet. You know, they're polo and khaki guys who, like, coach soccer on the weekends. Like, it's...
I was going to say, actually, every guy I know who has a motorcycle is kind of a polo and khaki guy.
Right, and it's like, so, it's one of those things where I'm like, maybe, I think you need to understand, dude, that, like, in the 90s and 80s, riding a motorcycle, you know, it was, like, bad, but, like, now it's... People decided, our generation in particular, was like, hey, I think actually anybody can buy a motorcycle. I can look however I want,
That's
especially
really
with, like, Vespas and the introduction of, like, more, just more motorcycles onto the market to choose from. And
I also want to read a couple other comments.
go for it, for sure. I'm sorry.
Toasty says, he's not exciting. What adventures have you led, lady?
Who
Which,
knows?
like, that's
He's
a
not
very fair
including that,
question.
yeah.
Like, if he's, like, yeah, maybe he's not, like, spontaneously asking her out or anything like that. What, is she? You know, like, that's a very valid question, too. And then another one that I wanted to read was Tuxedo Bob's, which is, I think, is a very fair question. Tuxedo Bob says, maybe she just likes being choked in bed. I think that honestly might be it. I think that's all it might come down to, is, like, she just needs to get choked out a little bit.
Safely and with consent, moderators. Safely and with
Yes.
consent.
Yes.
Everybody
fair.
calm
I just
down.
got fact checked. Okay. Update.
Honestly, I agree with Dragoon. Some people buy a rider. There was a point in my early 20s where I was
That's
like,
yeah.
I wanted a sidecar motorcycle so I could take my dog, a friend, or a kid and feel safe about it. And it also felt more stable to me. I'm like, I'm not going to go ripping 120. I'm going to be taking side roads and just enjoying countrysides. That's what I wanted it for. But I was also like, gas economy, holy cow, I could make so much travel would be so much easier with just that.
Okay. Update. The last few days have been a roller coaster of emotions. There were a lot of interesting perspectives, both from male and female posters. It seems that the female posters said that being seen as safe is a really great compliment, whereas the male poster said I should run for the hills. Certainly an intriguing insight into how men and women see things differently. And I think that's very, very valid.
Yeah, and
The thing is, though, I think every guy loves to feel safe, but no guy loves to hear that they're not exciting.
and again, I think that the people who are saying you're not exciting are using the wrong word. I think there's a different word for it, and it's like.
But she didn't put in the effort.
No, she didn't. She should have figured out what the word was. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, you don't know how to describe it because when you think of exciting, you're like, well, no, that's not really what I mean. Then don't use that word. You're like,
I think if any woman was told, well, you don't really excite me, but I chose you because you're safe, I think any woman would spiral. I think every woman would, like, lose their shit and be like, so you hate me.
Right,
so you hate
right,
me.
so I'm a goblin to you. I'm an ogre.
Truly.
You're vomiting in your mouth as I'm speaking to you.
He says, so I ended up talking to my fiance about what she meant. There we go. We're getting somewhere. She seemed really nervous and knew that she had upset me. I have to admit, I was quite nervous too. It's not easy when your sense of self has crumbled. Learning that you aren't seen in the way you think you are is a very tough feeling. I can't describe it, but it made me feel really fragile in the true sense of the word. That's fragile masculinity! Oh, so you want to be
That's
fragile?
feeling vulnerable. That's what vulnerability
Men aren't allowed to, though.
feels
Men
like.
aren't allowed to feel that way, though. So that's why he's like, God, he's not only coming to grips with the fact that his girl basically was like, you're not very exciting, but now he's coming to grips with the fact that he has to, like, I don't know, men don't have a lot of spaces where they're allowed to feel fragile or vulnerable. You know what I mean? And that's something we keep trying to bring up to people, but no one's taking it seriously. They're like, "Oh yeah, you don't feel like you can be fragile? We're getting killed out here." Like, that's all they ever hear whenever they try to complain about it. So, like, I do feel for him. He goes on by saying, I started by telling her that I was really upset about her comment because, frankly, I had always thought I was that exciting guy to her. I told her that in my mind, I was the guy who makes her heart skip a beat. So I had to brace myself and ask again what she meant when she said I wasn't exciting. She looked like she wanted to cry because I guess she could sense that I was also upset. She said that she didn't want to hurt my feelings, but that I make her feel very safe and secure, and that with me, I'm not exciting in the sense that I don't give her thrills like her exes used to. I'm less on her side now.
How do you mean by that, mademoiselle?
I think that his initial instincts of, oh God, I really don't want to be the guy that she just settles for when she really wants someone else, are starting to become a bit more valid. I think that he might have begrudgingly gotten the information that he did not want but did need. Yeah, she's an alpha widow. I think that she's alpha widowed, honestly. Sadly.
She got Chad widowed.
Yeah, she did.
I just read the rest of it.
But I'll read it out loud. He says, man, that hurt, but I was still confused. She was being really vague and not clear in what she meant. I had to ask again because he clearly loves to get the shit beat out of him. That's why he really goes to MMA. He's just a masochist. I had to ask again what she meant by thrills, and she just began crying and apologizing. She tried to hug me, but I again walked out. I seem to do this when things get emotional. At least he's becoming self-aware. So I decided to take some shrooms and spent the day outside at a nearby lake.
King.
This helped me clear my mind and come to some devastating realizations about myself. I think what I realized was that I was lying to myself. Another commenter said it, which I didn't want to admit, which is I'm more into her than she is into me. I didn't disclose this on my first thread, but she never initiates sex. I don't think she's done that once. With my exes, they always initiated with me. You see, my fiancé is beautiful, to the point where I wonder how I even landed her. But you see, that was the issue. Because I was so attracted to her, I wanted her approval. I know that sounds pathetic, but I was able to overlook red flags such as her lack of initiating sex. I thought that if I stayed with her, she'd like me the way I like her. Now here's the kicker. I thought that if I proposed to her, then over time I could win her over. Oh God. Oh no. By the time you propose, I think that part's supposed to be done. Stop reading ahead.
Sorry.
Come back to us.
I'm sorry.
No. Stay with us. Okay? I think that by the time you propose to someone, you're supposed to have already had them won over. This is like people who do agree to a marriage with someone who is not doing any chores, is not earning any money, but they're like, but maybe once we get married, they'll step up. Or the people who are like, man, they're really not present for me emotionally. Maybe if we have a baby, they'll become more emotionally present. Like, no, that stuff's supposed to already be there before the ring, before the sperm meets the egg. You're supposed to have all that shit figured out. In addition to never initiating, she also never complimented me much. It was always one-sided. A lot of this begs the question, why would she even be with me? I think that she saw me as someone who could provide stability. And I guess maybe she thought my exterior, tattoos, motorcycles, MMA, craft beer. Why is craft beer such a staple of masculinity?
I don't know.
It's like, can anybody answer that for me?
We live in Beer City. I'm so done with someone being like, I make my own beer. It's like, cool. So,
but I like craft beer. What do you mean I'm not a man?
yeah, dude, like, it's fine, but it's one of those things where people have kind of...
I like that you don't drink. I think that's the hottest thing.
Into it. Oh, thanks.
Anyway, I guess maybe she thought my exterior was a facade. And I mean, maybe she's right. Not that I don't enjoy those things, but maybe I'm able to have that lifestyle because my parents were wealthy doctors. Okay, I like this this pipeline of realizing our privileges. This is kind of eye-opening. Maybe she thought I was cosplaying as a bad boy and that in actuality I am a loaded rich kid who provides stability. The other insight I had was that, these are some good shrooms, by the way. The other insight I had was that, truth be told, I didn't want to actually get married. Okay, so this is good shrooms. The shrooms did their job. Nature's medicine.
This is what people call a good trip. This is exactly what it is.
I definitely do one day, but I didn't really think it through. I thought to myself that if I propose, I will grow accustomed to the idea of getting married. So basically both of them said yes to this proposal, just hoping it would fix both of them. But the truth is, I kind of want to continue my lifestyle as it is, which involves riding my motorcycle, fixing muscle cars, traveling across the country, going to festivals, etc. You can still do all those things with a partner if you choose right. Do I want to get married one day? Of course. But I want to be with a woman who's really crazy about me. Someone who compliments me and initiates sex. So I ended up talking with her later on and telling her that I want to call things off. I won't bore with the details, but yes, she cried a lot and even got angry and said I wasted her time. The right call was made. She had me in the first half, not gonna lie. But by the time she said, "You wasted my time," okay, Miss Meal Ticket, you clearly do not have the maturity for this, dude. You were just trying to settle, and honestly, like, it's giving I thought I could get away with cheating eventually vibes, dude. You wasted her time. That means that you felt entitled to it this whole time. Really, that's such an ignorant, annoying thing to say, and I hate when people say that about any relationship. Because it's like, if you're really saying that you didn't get anything of value out of the relationship simply because it didn't go 100% the way that you wanted it to, like, really, you didn't even lose anything. He's the one who bought the ring. Mm-hmm. That's wild. But it concludes with, I told her that it wasn't anything she did, but she didn't buy that and kept pressing. She told me that I misunderstood her comment, but I told her she couldn't even clarify what she really meant. It ended it with me telling her that I have nothing against her, but that I'm just not ready for marriage, which is fine. That's acceptable. That's good to know. I told her that the lifestyle I want to continue, in addition to me not feeling the connection I thought I had with her, was why. It ended quite predictably, but I think going forward, I'm going to see a therapist to sort my insecurities, as well as find someone more compatible with myself.
Wow, okay. Not really what you see on Reddit often, but...
I know! Thanks, mushrooms. the top comment, my parents are wealthy doctors. Now that sounds exciting. Yeah, I think that was the potentially the big pull
Yeah.
in what made her attracted to this guy. What do you think? Yeah, he
Does it
gets
say
like,
how long they were together, or just that they've been engaged for a few months?
they've been engaged for a few months, dated just shy of 2 years prior. I think a big learning moment for both of them. I think that this is the kind of relationship that's going to make him come out the other side, like, knowing exactly what he wants, like, ready to avoid bullshit. But do you think she learned anything?
No. Absolutely not.
I don't know if she learned anything
This
from
behavior
this,
is
quite
behavior
frankly.
of people who are like, I'll just find the next guy. Oh well, he just wasn't right. Not, what did I do? It doesn't seem very... The behavior he's describing doesn't seem very self-reflective, though, to be fair, as with a lot of these Reddit stories.
We're only seeing one side.
Only seeing one side.
Maybe he was like, here, take these, and handed her the mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And she figured it all out by now. Age gap relationships. This wasn't an age gap. They're 38 and 29. Or, I mean, 28 and 29. 38 and
Yeah,
29.
they
would
were
be an
only
age gap.
a year apart.
Yeah, they're good. She's gorgeous enough to find a man to treat her like crap. He will do fine at festivals with his motorcycle. God, that was depressingly true, Ryan. Ryan's been around this depresso block a number of times, man. The whole "at least she was honest" thing, though, it kind of comes down to, though, like, was she, though? Because he had to overhear this conversation. Hey, Richard, how do I know if I was considered wealthy? My father is a retired mechanical engineer and my mom isn't a CPA. However, they divorced when I was 2 and my whole life I thought I grew up middle class.
You probably did.
Huh. I mean, I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like, a lot of people are like, you know, they rightly acknowledge that 6 figures is hard to earn. Others are like, 300,000 is barely enough to survive these days. Kind of both are true. That's the sad part. None of us are even making like 6 figures, but all of us are expected to survive.
Why did it say Richard? That's so funny. Tell me, Richard.
I don't know either. I was wondering if there was like someone in the comments that you were specifically replying to.
I love that.
That is really funny though. What is a CPA?
Certified public accountant.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You guys are making clips of me. What are you guys doing to me?
I am a CPA, a certified public accountant. Oh
Sure.
God, what is this?
This was earlier. Oh, I said alt. Like hang out with your friends and then they like just completely get you entirely pregnant. You know how like that silly stuff just kind of happens sometimes. You just like get fully loaded up genetically by your homies. That was from earlier. The woman in the court was like, oh, this guy who's staying with me for a little bit, he's just a friend. He's just a support figure. And they're like, so anyway, you're back in court and 2 months pregnant by this guy. Whoops. I have like the most ridiculous clips made of me, honestly. It is a gift. All right. Well, I was going to say, let's wrap it up, but one more from Girthy. Sorry, I'm blind. I don't care if I'm wasting 100 bits on this. Can TJ please say I'm a certified public accountant? Yeah, he said that in a creepy voice again.
Dude, listen. Okay. You gotta watch the movie The Producers with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick by Mel Brooks. I cannot remember the guy's name. Who's the guy from The Wedding Singer who's like, he's lost his mind.
Not Vince
And I'll reap all the benefits. And he kind of like goes behind he's got a part in that, and he's a CPA, and he's like yelling at the main character. He's like, you're just a PA, a public accountant, but I am a CPA, a certified public accountant, a rank you measly little peasants can only hope to someday achieve. And that's like the setup for the whole like him realizing he doesn't want to be an accountant anymore song. It's such a good movie.
This is why my stepson is strongly considering voice acting, is listening to his dad do all the time. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna call the stream. Simmering, thank you again. I actually did marry Jack Lewin because I felt safe with him. I literally can't imagine my life without him. Yeah, you guys are definitely a power couple for sure. Again, like I said, I think every guy knows how to take a compliment when they're called safe, but nobody wants to be told they're not exciting.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of those people who's truly, like, embraces the not exciting thing. You are like, no, I don't like exciting.
I still
but
think
even then, I feel like you want those butterflies.
You want your partner to say that you excite them.
I think that was the point of no return for her, was when she said, you just don't make me feel like my exes did. That, there's no coming back from something like that. If you ever told me, like, I'm sorry, you just don't do for me, like, what my exes did, dude, that's so fucking devastating. That's such a devastating blow. You really can't reconcile or explain that way. It's just over at that point. Like, at that point, she's basically saying, like, listen, you are going to accept the fact that I am hot and not attracted to you, or bust. And he's like, I guess we bust, fam.
Yeah, I guess we bust. John
I guess
Lovitz.
we just head on out then. Simmering and Jack Lemmon never change. That's an order. God, I love Alan. Voice acting is so fun. I wish I had the emotion in my voice to pull it off. Yeah, I don't have much range myself. I'm thoroughly, constantly impressed with TJ. He once did an entire debate between Trump and Obama just as we ate dinner, and I was like crying, laughing. Having heard the subject story, I hope you don't do what his exes did. Oh man, I just wish you would completely cut me out of my kid's life like my ex tried to do. That's what really makes me feel like a man. I would never compare to my husband to my ex. He blew. That's what I'm saying, man. I can't think of a good reason to compare your significant other to your ex, quite frankly. Unless it's like, I really love the way that you're nothing like my ex. Then, by all means. But alright, I'm gonna go walk doggo. Any closing thoughts, closing questions while we have TJ here? Any last
I'm trying to think.
things?
Someone asked me, I haven't, about some stuff earlier, I haven't really, Delicious in Dungeon Season 2 is confirmed. I haven't really read a ton of Boruto. I don't like the art design shift that it kind of took from OG Naruto. Of the big three, Naruto's my least favorite of the three. Not that I don't like it, it's just if I had to rank them, I probably like One Piece, Bleach, Naruto. But back in the day, it was Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, and I didn't even like One Piece because I stopped reading it. Then my kid got into it, so I've like read it a lot in the past, like, decade. So I really like that one. But yeah, Boruto, I know that some people like frickin' stand by it, but it's just not, it's not necessarily for me. Not to say that the artwork isn't technically like wow. It just doesn't scritch my ears the way that the OG artwork did. That's all.
Carl said he once got broken up with for asking why his kid had a giant Band-Aid on his head, which is because he jumped through a coffee table when no one was watching. Which, like, yeah, kids like to do that, quite frankly. Kids are really good at hurting themselves. Our daughter actually has an injury on her forehead. It's really not that bad. Just a little bit of road rash from... She was on her scooter. Are you going to try to reenact
I'm going to try to
this?
do it, yeah.
Damn. All right, let's get that dance minor
She was like
out.
on her scooter and was like trying to like tilt her head back.
She successfully touched the back of her head with her foot. To be fair, a feat of gymnastic capability that many of us will never achieve, but in doing so, she lost her balance and just whacks her head against the pavement. So yeah, kids love to hurt each other. Carl goes on to say, went to the hospital, never told his son, he said, no, never told me anything. Again, why did you get broken up with? Was it simply for being accusatory?
Right.
Because it's called Scorpion. Yeah.
That makes a
It
lot of
is.
sense. I
Scorpion
do like
Temple.
Risk, however...
Wait, the game?
Someone asked if you like Risk. I do like Risk.
Dude, I got dumped over Risk.
She got dumped over a game of Risk
on my
a long
birthday.
time ago, yeah. But I was in the Scouts and for summer camp, and a lot of times even any overnight camp, at least one person brought a game of Risk, and it was a mad frenzy to get at the Risk table, because that was like the game, because you got to like sit and do it for hours, and the adults didn't bother you, and it's like, oh, they're playing Risk, just let them go till they finish. And it was like, there were it was a lot. So yeah, I played a lot of it, but I think I played so much of it in my youth that I'm like, I need a break from it. I've got a lot of other like resource games and stuff that definitely Risk started the love of that style of gaming for sure.
Wait, Jack Lumen, you're related to John Bluth? I was trying to catch up real quick. One of my dad's cousins.
I'm sorry, the Don Bluth. Don Bluth is one of your dad's cousins? Good sir.
But he's erasing himself from the genealogy.
Oh.
Interesting. I'm related to the person who crashed the Heidelberg.
Somebody said, so men are damned if they have good hygiene, and if they do. Here's the thing. Anybody, man, woman, outsider in between that, who makes fun of you for having good hygiene, they're not it. They're not it. Anybody who makes fun of you for having... Now, you can overly do it, like people who are like, no, I gotta wash my hair 4 times a day.
Morgan asked a very intense question. Who would win in a fight, Miles Morales or Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho? My vote's Hiei. I'm a little biased,
No,
but also right.
Here's the thing:
correct.
is there's
His
just like
powers are way
certain
more
stuff
deadly.
that Miles, like the spider sense can only get you so far. Like people always in the power battles will do like, well, spider sense and this that, and it's like that's more for hand to hand combat. Like you can't do shit. This man is willing to lose an entire appendage just to win.
That's right. The Hindenburg. I was like the something. I almost said Heisenberg, and then I was like, that's Breaking
Heidelberg
Bad.
is a battle. Is a pretty bad battle for the bad folks.
Hindenburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Exactly.
Really
Soap
no
doesn't
one
have
else.
to be expensive. Listen, Irish Springs is at the dollar store. Load up on that stuff. I've never met a single person who's been like, ew, what the fuck is that?
That's true, actually.
Everybody loves Irish Springs
does smell
soap.
good.
It smells so good.
That's
and it's
true.
simple. Like, if you need something until you can get something more, like, fancy put your pinky up with.
Cute. Okay. I gotta walk miles, though.
All right.
I think we got all of our final thoughts. But, yeah. That's what a super fun stream. If like I said, if anybody can send me any court channels that you know are good to legally stream. Some of you guys, I think you said Florida you're allowed to stream their courtrooms. So I would love to do more stuff like this, quite frankly. I love some good court footage. I just don't want to get arrested. That's all.
You know.
Just a little casual
Creator
thing. I
stuff.
like to avoid when I can. I know. High standards there. But I usually post the official schedule for live streaming on Sundays. That's usually when I get a chance to like sit down, sip my coffee, and like plan the week. I was telling TJ what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like add some consistency, some boringness, some less excitingness to my life. So what my goal is 2 to 3 live streams a week, 1 written, filmed, like nicely high production YouTube video a week, and then I'm trying to do like maybe 3 videos of like cut up and edited lives, hopefully 2 to 3 videos a week. I don't understand how creators post every day. I don't. Especially my pals, Chloe Roma and Emily King. They're both like, just post every day. I'm like, where are you guys finding the time? Like, you both have kids too, right? Like, how do you guys have the time for this? But I'm trying to step my game up a little bit.
Thank you, Dylan. D&D night on Sundays. Yeah.
Yes, and then also on Sundays, 7:30 p.m. EST. You can follow OTL Rook for some Dungeons and Dragons adventures. He has a really cool setup where you can see everything, and he always does a great job with like a big visual demonstration of the characters. He makes his own maps, settings, all the characters have their own minis, so it's really easy to follow along. One day I may make my triumphant return.
Maybe
to
someday
the game.
once we get the kiddo down
I know.
regularly.
I know, the problem is just childcare, that's all. That's all.
Grooming bias. Yes, I have a bias towards grooming.
That's gonna get collapsed.
Whoops. Hey, you know what? I do have a bias towards it. It's not a good one if we're talking about it in that sense. Yeah, there is a...
I have a bias toward clean men and destroying creeps.
Yep, exactly. It's...
Okay. Anyway, we're getting out of here. Can we end
That's
on a better
hilarious.
note? There's got to be a higher note we can end on than that. Ooh. Okay, no, we love you guys. Wait, reverse TJ tax? Do you owe Dylan money? We should give Dylan money. Quite good. Okay, we're getting out of here though. Keep an eye out for all of our other stuff. You can see TJ as early as Sunday. We'll have the stream out for all of next week's live coming up soon. Keep your submissions coming to Lauren at Dadvocate.com.